Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Trekporeal Adventures of the 735. I'm your host, the Admiral, the shameless plugger, the weirdo, and the Nerdporeal lifeform. But you can call me Brian. And with me is my special guest for this episode, Spock. Spock's Friday
Hello,
nights. How
humans.
are ya?
How's it going?
Everything's going great. How you doing? How's your Sunday been?
It's going good. Just ready to get into some Voyager.
Awesome. And before we get into the thick of it, let's welcome our chat. We have Jim the Viking. He says,
Going, Jim?
greetings, immortals. Oh, I didn't know I was
Greetings.
immortal. Nice. Well, I am nerdporeal, so maybe that has something to do with it. And we have input latency, and he actually says hello instead of hello like he always does. So. All right, so are you ready to begin our top 5 Star Trek Voyager episodes?
Go for it, man.
All right, well, we're going to start with number 5, and Spock, I would like you to kick this off.
So for my top 5, I chose some good ones. First one would be for number 5. I put Jatrell, and
Okay,
that was
and
in
let's...
season 1. Episode 15, and that was a Neelix episode, more of a Neelix focused episode, and it showed a very different side to him as well, because we got to see Dr. Jatrell, that was his name, Dr. Jatrell, and
That's
he
correct.
arrived on Voyager, I think with news for the Voyager crew, or it was for Neelix, I don't really remember. But there was such a hatred between these two species, I think. Or no, these two characters, sorry. Because Dr. Jatrell was the one who caused the not almost the extinction, but decimated half of Neelix's world. Yeah, that's Dr. Jatrell right there.
If I remember correctly, the weapon that he used was called the Metreon Cascade, which basically is
Correct.
like it's like a blue cloud that goes in and just basically kills, or actually I think it basically vaporizes people and stuff.
Yeah, so half of Neelix's world was pretty much decimated by that weapon, and there's always his whole family was killed by him. He killed his entire family. So think about seeing that kind of person again after so many years. I'm sure Neelix really wants to just strangle him. But
Well, it's like, imagine if you were like, if you were Japanese, and you were not in, like, let's say Nagasaki or Hiroshima, and you come back,
yeah,
and you lose your entire family, and then let's say Dr. Oppenheimer, the guy that helped, was in charge of the Manhattan Project, just said, hey, I have a means to bring your family back and stuff. I mean, it would initially be, you would initially have rage towards the person, because that's a very natural thing when it comes to losing someone. Like, everybody assumes it's mainly, sorrow and sadness, but a lot of it manifests in anger, especially right
yeah,
away. So, like in particular Game of Thrones, when Cersei loses Joffrey, even though everyone was happy that he was gone, but she was angry. She was angry the moment he died, and wanted blood, and wanted vengeance against Tyrion. So, but yeah, it's that same idea. So he is.
yeah, very similar. You kind of get that in this episode as well. The way that this episode specifically is like directed. Do you know who the director is? That's the one thing I forgot to look up.
I have it right here on the screen. It says Kim Friedman directed it. Kenneth Biller, who was one of the main producers of Voyager, Karen Klein and Jack Klein wrote the teleplay.
It was it was just really good. I honestly enjoyed that episode compared to so many things I've been seeing today. And not even just Star Trek, just so many new shows I'm watching today coming out. I don't see this kind of level of, I don't know, emotional development between characters at all. Voyager, in my opinion, didn't really get too much of a good lash from fans after TNG ended and Deep Space Nine. Some people just considered it a copy of TNG and stuff like that, instead of it just carrying on the tradition of what Star Trek really is, exploring unknown planets and meeting unknown allies and stuff like that, which I think Voyager did. This episode also really had, if you stuck with it, had some really well directed episodes like this one.
I totally agree with
And
that.
Neelix was one of I wouldn't say my overall favorite character, but he was one of my favorite characters in this show.
I don't know a whole lot of people that really care for Neelix, but this was a very powerful Neelix episode. And I just
Yeah.
want to read what Jim the Viking says. He says, "It's an amazing episode. How do you reconcile with someone that was the source, but not the means behind the worst thing you ever experienced?" I mean, yeah, it's a very interesting question, and that's what I mean when it comes to newer stuff. I mean, like, writers are not really asking themselves these questions and stuff. They're just doing a job right now. Oh, let's make it. Oh, let's make this look cool. Let's make that look cool. Let's give explosions, and let's make the heroes run and do stupid stuff to create conflict and drama and stuff. And I don't know, a lot of people just
Yeah,
are
like
seeing
the
it through it.
creators in this episode, they don't attempt to redeem Jatrell, but you know,
He tries to redeem himself, and to me, he kind of does when he try like with just this whole experiment of trying to bring back Neelix's family, and of course it fails because I mean, resurrecting people from the dead is it's hard to cheat death even in the Star Trek
yeah,
universe and stuff, or bring people back from the dead and stuff. And even if they did, there's always the implication that they're not really themselves and stuff. They wouldn't be the same anyways if it was successful. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I love who plays Dr. Jetrell.
No,
If he his actor's name is James Sloyan. He's been in a lot of episodes as different characters. So he was also Dr. Morapol in Deep Space Nine. He was Odo's mentor slash. He kind of founded him and helped.
oh yeah, he was also a Romulan. I remember.
Yes, he was the defector in the defector. That was him.
That's
and
funny.
and he was also Alexander. If you remember the episode Firstborn from TNG season 7, he plays an adult Alexander.
Oh wow, that's true. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, that was the one where they go looking for the Duras sisters, and they actually find out
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that the weapons the weapons that were used to try to assassinate Worf and stuff were from the future and stuff. So yeah, it was a really interesting episode. So, but yeah, I loved. I don't know what else. I'm sure James Sloan was into a whole other stuff, but it's like actors like these that are just, to me, are so underrated. Like and the fact that they did such a good job with their performances. I mean, they were brought back by the producers to play further roles and stuff.
Yeah, James and Ethan Phillips, man, they're really great actors. I am after watching this show many years ago for like the first time. I don't know, man. I fell in love with every single character. Obviously, minus a few of the bad ones, but we'll get into the bad ones later.
All
But
right.
they definitely just took really good care of these characters in terms of development throughout the series, and I think Neelix has one of the, I wouldn't say the most drastic change, but you can definitely see a difference between him in season 1 and season 7.
Oh yeah, I totally. Yeah, I just kind of wish they would have done more with Neelix overall. But yeah, this was a really strong episode for him for season 1 and stuff. So, you
Yeah,
have anything else you want to add about
pretty much covered
Jatrell?
it.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk about my number 5. Number 5 is the episode Shattered from season 7. So this is the one where Chakotay, they basically encounter a big giant, looks like a thunderstorm in space and stuff. It's
Ah,
actually some
yep.
type of it's another. They basically tack on the name temporal anomaly, and this temporal anomaly causes the inside of the ship to shatter temporally. So every different parts of the ship, like the bridge, the sick bay, the cargo bay, the engineering, they're all different. They're all in different time periods. The corridors,
So
they're all
cool.
different time periods.
And like
So
watching this for the first time, you know, all this adventures you've gone through, watching this through the first time and coming through this episode, you're revisiting all of those past episodes. It's so nice.
I know, like it was. So what episodes did obviously this is a Chakotay episode, and
Chakotay episode, yeah.
this is all happening from his point of view
It's
because
him
he
very
got
much trying to redeem himself. You know, I wouldn't say actually he is redeeming himself because the Maquis, I don't fully disagree with their intentions, except for obviously them killing people. But, you know, what happened to them, I understand why they went angry. But uh, it's almost like he's just... It feels like a redemption episode for him in some way.
Yeah, I mean, what's awesome about this episode is like he is traveling. It's like an adventure. It's like another fish out of water type thing. I mean, he's basically going to other time periods and stuff. And can you imagine what that would be like if you did that in real life? Like, who the hell in their right mind would believe you? Like, hey, I'm from
Nobody.
another time. Nobody. So that just makes you wonder, like, what are they gonna do? How is Chakotay? How are the writers going to help or have Chakotay convince like other people that that he's that he's not lying and stuff.
And
So
I
like the
like
first
what they did with the Janeway when he came on the bridge and pretty much started talking very personal things that she wouldn't tell anybody else, and
yeah,
and she told him. So that
and
was really smart writing.
and it happens like when like like one thing you don't want to do with a captain is you don't want your crew to know personal things about you. You want your crew to think you're anything less than perfect. So so yeah, so like what he does is he's like so he goes up there twice. So the first time he goes up there, she basically takes him into custody. She has security escort him to the brig. So when they going down when they're going down the turbo lift, because of the shift in temporal, because of the shift in the time periods, the two security guys that go with him vanish. So he's free again, and he ends up. He ends up I forget where he ends up exactly, but he comes back and he has like the doctor makes this little like vaccine or something that will allow another person to travel through the time through the various time periods and stuff, because right now they can't travel. They can't like other people cannot travel. To them it's just a normal day. So it's when he injects Janeway with that vaccine that she can move through the various time periods with him and stuff. So I loved how he brought everyone from all the different time periods together to work towards
Yeah.
fixing for
Did they
repairing.
go into that vaccine a bit more?
I don't think so. It was like
I
I
wish
think
that's one thing they did at least.
it had chronoton. It was like I don't know if it was it was chronoton based. It was a chronoton based vaccine. I think they were using chronotons. Or that was the technobabble word that they chose for
Right.
this particular episode. So you had your quantum singularities, which are common in Voyager, and
Orville.
and Orville, yeah, that too. And now you have chronotons. Whenever you're dealing with like temporal stuff, you need a particle that measures like time displacement and stuff. Chronotons sounds scientific enough, don't you agree?
Yeah.
So. So they basically go around. They inject this vaccine into the, I think into the gel packs. So they have to go. So it's basically like a little adventure. They have to go through like dangerous territory, especially engineering, which is during the episode Basics Part 2 when Seska and the Kazon have commandeered the ship and stuff. So, there's a lot of fun action, a little danger. I love how they all come together to take down Seska one last time. Another great performance by Martha Hacken. She's played a lot of other roles too, I believe. I know the only one I can think of right now. She plays the Romulan in the search parts 1 and 2 in Deep Space Nine when they get the Defiant for the first time, and she's supervising their use of the cloaking device that the Romulans lent them. Remember that one? Remember that one? You there? I guess we lost Spock. So, Let's see who else is in the chat. Brian Anderson says Spock is on chat. I thought he died. Well, he came back to life. Don't you remember? He came back to life. He came back to life. Kirk brought him back to Vulcan and stuff. So, we have Jim the Viking
Sorry,
says
my
that.
mic's working now. I don't know what just happened. Yeah,
Oh.
that's crazy. I didn't know that it was the same actress.
Yeah, Martha Hackett. So like, this was a great little. I thought this was a nice little send off for her. You know, even though her character dies all the way in in the beginning of season 3, or the first episode of season 3, but she comes back. She comes back in worst case scenario, which is the end of season 3, where she's she's like a program on the holodeck that takes over Tuvok's program, which was one of the earliest episodes I saw. You know, when it was airing.
Tuvok was finally just about to calm down, and then boom there goes this holodeck.
Yep, that's right. And look who showed up. Look who decided to show up. Mike.
Transported 70,000 light years to the stream.
So yeah, if you haven't subscribed to Pacific 414, and that way I can get every sub he gets, I get $5. You know, keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But going back, yeah. So yeah, Shattered basically he brings everyone together, and what was funny was there was something that made me kind of sad about this episode. There's a segment where they go into astrometrics, and we see an adult Icheb and an adult Naomi Wildman. Do you know why? Do you know why?
Completely decided to forget.
They didn't forget. Well, actually, yeah, they did forget, but they I felt bad because Icheb did not have the future. Did not have even that future. You know, I didn't. It just So yeah, F's in the chat for Icheb. Kurtzman and Kurtzman and Patrick Stewart killed him.
Like, you see him doing so well in this episode, and after that, he's pretty much there saying he gets his freaking node ripped out. That's horrible.
Yeah, it was, and that was a horrible scene. Like, that was like, you don't see stuff like that in Star Trek. Usually,
they want to say that's changed. No, it's just shit writing. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse.
No, you can curse. It's I mean, stuff like that. There's messed up stuff that has happened in even the Trek that we like. But it's always been, they never showed it they never showed that. They never showed graphic violence like that. Like, I mean, like the closest thing you see to an eye thing is when in Star Trek First Contact where they have the little probe thingy from the Borg that hits Picard's eye. That was like the closest thing to eye violence that I could think of. So so Shattered was I loved Shattered. I love how they all work together to basically fix the time continuum and stuff. So everybody went back to their times. Chakotay remembered everything, and I love how they kept saying, I can't tell you, temporal prime directive. So if somebody wants to ask me something, I should just say negative, temporal prime directive.
Yep.
So that's my number 5. So let's move on to your number 4.
Okay, so my number 4 would be Faces, which was season 1, episode 14, and it was the episode that was showing more of a B'Elanna-focused episode, where her human and Klingon half were separated in two, so that she really had to deal with that mentally, because it was Voyager as a whole away team was captured by the Vidians. So they had some like advanced technology, but they weren't able to really cure themselves. Because I think, do you remember what the Vidians are? They were like always...
Yeah, they had the phage. They had the phage,
Yeah.
and what they would do is they would basically teleport people's organs out of their body. So like in the episode Phage, Neelix, they like steal Neelix's lungs and stuff. And so he's like on a frickin' respirator, because he can't breathe otherwise. And can you imagine like losing your lungs and stuff like forever and stuff, and like the idea that you would have to be on like connected to a respirator for the rest of your life? That was Neelix in that episode. So
that sucked.
So they're like the creepy mad scientist race in Star Trek.
It was really, like, I have to say, very dark for, I would say, younger viewers too, this episode, because the way that they just steal Neelix's lung is pretty it's like, goddamn.
Mm-hmm.
They literally just went in there, took it, and left. And the guy was left to die. Like, that's horrible.
So I haven't watched this episode in a while. So what basically happens? So I do remember that B'Elanna becomes human and Klingon. So you get to see her, you get to see her Klingon half and her human half. And I remember what happens. Like the Klingon half dies, and then
It basically examines the conflict that she had with her mixed heritage growing up, like the bullying she suffered, and the you got to see more, I think, with her dad. Remember, and think,
yeah.
that was what really was hitting this episode, the moments with her dad and the memories.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So if I remember correctly, her Klingon half dies, but they use her
I like what
DNA
Jim's saying here.
So Voyager kept violence to the minimum, but was always spot on for the danger. You didn't you didn't even get that from DS9. You didn't even get that from DS9, even though the shows were running side by side. Yeah, that's true. Like it was always implied. Violence was generally implied, like especially in um, I'm trying to think what was a good episode where the like even like sex, like any sex or really graphic stuff that happens was usually off screen and stuff.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I mean, I'm gonna go back to the '60s with the original series, McCoy being tortured, for the sake of the character Jem, the mute, to get to them testing to see whether or not she will use her empathy or her empathic powers to heal McCoy and stuff. But that happened off screen. A lot of the violence that we see happens off screen, like especially stuff that can be considered um, hard to watch. So, but yeah, I agree. So, have anything else to say about Faces?
No, we pretty much covered it. Yeah, this episode's mainly about the bullying B'Elanna faced when she was growing up and the flashback she gets. So those scenes were, those were directed very well. The screenplay in this episode's fantastic, which is why I made it to my top 4.
Okay, interesting. I'll have to rewatch this sometime. So my number 4 is Living Witness. So Living Witness is an episode that takes place in the far future, I believe 700 years after the 24th century, so it would take place in the 31st century. So I forget. So it takes place around the same time as where what's his name in Enterprise was from? He was from the 31st century, or was it Discovery that went to the 31st century? I'm trying to remember. But this takes place in the 31st century, and we're on this planet, and this planet basically has this museum, and this museum has Voyager depicted as like a malevolent warship that commits atrocities left and right, like it's like breakfast food and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the act of doing all these atrocities must be really delicious and stuff. So
It was the first glimpse of what we could see of what a mirror version of. Oh, that was nice. The mirror version of the Voyager could look like, because that's something we never got in the show, unfortunately. A mirror universe, but it's okay. We get something in Star Trek Online, so that kind of makes up for it a bit.
absolutely, and of course here's the picture that they show. They show a picture of Chakotay, and like instead of
Yeah.
having like a small tattoo on his face, he has this large tattoo. It reminds me of
Looks
that.
cool.
It reminds me of that quip when I think Q first shows up and stuff. He's like, "You think you have a big tattoo? Well, mine's bigger." And you see the tattoo. You see that same tattoo on John Delancey's face. I don't know if you remember that. I think that was in Death Wish or something. Or yeah, I think it was that episode
Yeah.
was called Death Wish and stuff. It just made me. It just made me think of that. So you have evil Janeway right there. She's got like short hair. She just looks like she looks like a complete. She's wearing the leather gloves. If a character wears leather gloves, they're bad. Like that's just TV trope. Rule number 1 or something. Okay, it's not number 1, but basically this species. What are they called? The Kyrians. I'm trying to remember the name of the race that has the that has the museum and stuff. Well, they believe that Voyager was capable of this stuff, and then we get a backup of the Doctor. So it's not the same Doctor. This is a different Doctor. This is a backup that was left behind, and that we never really see again after this. But this backup of the Doctor basically tells what really happened and stuff. And because of that, it ends up, they're going to try him for like war crimes because there's no one there to, take responsibility for what happened. And then we find out that the truth was kind of stretched, and that that history was actually false. It was like an alternate history was being alternately told and stuff. And it kind of felt very relevant, to way certain things have been way certain issues have been discussed, and how things are being denied and stuff, especially stuff in the news lately, the last couple of years and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, it was just one of those things that I feel really needs to be considered, especially when you're getting your information from sources or from places you're not quite you're wondering if how truthful the stuff is and stuff. So and what's funny is it ended up like, I think this episode ended with like riots and stuff, like the museum got pillaged and stuff. It got destroyed by like protesters and stuff. So but I mean, eventually, the main character gets I think he eventually tells the truth. I think the character's name is Quarren, and he basically finds out that the Voyager wasn't that bad, and that that things didn't turn out the way they thought that they were. So but yeah, the Doctor kept working towards worked for several years with them until he ended up leaving to go try to find his way back to the Alpha Quadrant as well. He kind of wondered,
Right.
did he ever make it and stuff. So
This was a great episode.
So let's see. Jim the Viking says the Doctor waking up years later is amazing because it is a story about how history is written by the winners. It is an amazing episode. Yes. So it kind of makes me want to question, like, our own, like, when we learn history, it kind of makes me wonder, like, how often, how what is true and what's not true, or even the bigger question, what has not been told and stuff. Because now we're in this thing where we want to like remove people from being credited for stuff if they do something bad or do something that's a no thing and stuff. So yeah, to me this was an important episode. So that's why it's my number 4. So why don't we move on to number 3?
All right, so I was still kind of thinking about this one. Why don't you go for your number 3? I'll come back to you on this after yours.
All right, my number 3 is Equinox. This is the 2-parter. This is how season 5 ends.
I'm surprised this isn't the number 1 for you. This is a great episode.
I love this episode, but it's not my number 1. It's not the episode that got me into watching Voyager from when I started to the end of the show. But yeah, this was a great episode because it really kind of changed. I mean, here's the thing: this could have taken the show in a whole new direction, but they kind of didn't follow up on this at all, and this was a disappointment in my opinion. Not the episode, but like it was another missed opportunity. Voyager is full of them. That's one of my criticisms that I have of the show. That there were so many great storylines that they could have started, but what they did here was amazing. Like, so Voyager has been alone in the Delta Quadrant for 5 years now. It's going to be 5 years, and basically I think they get a distress call. I haven't rewatched the episode recently, but basically they come across another starship, another Federation starship called the Equinox, and this one is led by Captain Ransom, who is played by John Savage. And let's just say, unlike Voyager, the Equinox looks like they've been through, like, instead of a single year of hell, they went through like 6 or 7 years of hell, or something like that. And we find out that they were pulled in under the exact same circumstances. They were pulled in to the Delta Quadrant by the caretaker. And they've been struggling to survive in space all that time. So, I mean, you see, like right here, you see, like, they're continually being under attack by these aliens that come out of these little fissure holes from the ship's ceiling, from the ship's bulkheads and stuff, and they look like a bunch of like angry, scary-looking fish, frog people. I don't know what you would call them, but what they are is like they're basically this was a to me that they were kind of an allegory for like killing. It was like another allegory for endangering creatures and stuff to use their raw material. Like for instance, remember the whales and stuff. Like I mean, I know Nimoy did this for 4 with the whales being endangered because the whales have like all this like material, all this stuff that they have that that people use to manufacture stuff. Like the blubber is a material that we use and stuff. Well, in the case of these aliens that come out of these fissures, they're used as energy, as a means to fuel the ship, to increase the propulsion so that they can get home and stuff. So with these guys, they've kind of foregone their Starfleet principles in for the sake of survival, which is the very antithesis of what Janeway stands for. So we get to see Janeway I have never seen Janeway up to this point ever be so hell-bent on going after someone. Like she even wasn't even like that with the Borg. Like this was like she was like batshit crazy, if you remember. There were points I think where Chakotay had to like stop her and stuff.
Yeah.
Or there was like some tension between her and Chakotay. And it's like these type of episodes that were great. And of course, they capture the Doctor and they capture 7 of 9, and then of course they reprogram the Doctor, and the Doctor starts singing like a nursery song while he's like completely dismantling 7 of 9 or something. It was a really creepy Doctor and stuff. But and you had the switcheroo. So you had their evil EMH put into Voyager as as a secret, as a spy or something and stuff. So I thought this was great. I thought this was a great episode. You get to see into Captain Ransom's mind. Especially in part 2, he has this little visor, this little virtual reality thing as his means of escapism, with dealing with being in space and dealing with the harshness of barely surviving, and being responsible for your crew. So
Yeah.
I think at the end he did redeem himself, like his first officer and a few of the other crew.
I think so.
They mutinied him, and he basically said, "Hey, the ship is going to be destroyed. There's no time for you to help me. Save the rest of my crew." And so the rest of the crew come on board, and of course Janeway gives the hard like if you do anything, I'll be watching you guys like a hawk. If you guys do anything, you're out or something like that. So it was too bad we didn't see any of those crew members that survived from the Equinox ever again after this. I mean, they had 2 seasons to do something and they didn't do it. So, and I think they just could have. I think they could have done more. Followed this up with more stuff, with a similar type of story. Maybe find another starship. Honestly, I kind of wish they would have let the Equinox, survived. It would have been a very interesting dynamic. Like the Equinox would have went in one direction, and of course we probably would have seen them again fighting the Borg or species 8472 or something. But yeah, that's my number 3, Equinox. Amazing, awesome 2-parter. I was not underwhelmed by part 2. It was the awesome beginning of my freshman year of high school when this first aired and stuff. So
Great one, man.
about you, what's your number 3?
So my number 3, it was just funny because it's all 3. It's season 3, episode 3, and it's called The Shoot. And
I remember The Shoot.
Tom Paris and Harry Kim episode. So it was definitely my favorite because my favorite character in this show is Tom Paris, and this really just capitalized that because they're both like they're pretty much thrown for a crime that they didn't even do. So they're both committed of a crime that they didn't commit, and thrown in some alien prison, which is really, you know, horrible. Like it's just like a swamp pretty much in concrete jungle. But the shoot is like a tense episode that shines a spotlight on Tom and Harry during one of the worst ordeals they possibly have had together. It's like pretty stressful watching Tom deteriorate as Harry reached the end of his tether. So it's definitely one of those episodes you're like almost worried that they're gonna lose their friendship almost over this, but they don't. They actually make it through together, and it all just, I forget what the ending dialogue is, but it's really good piece of dialogue, the very ending of it, because that's the thing about Voyager. The final credit scenes were always powerful.
He says, "What you want to know? What I remember? Someone saying, 'This man is my friend. Nobody touches him. I'll remember that for a long time.'" I'm wondering if
There
that's
you
what you're
go.
talking about.
There you
So
go.
it's been a while since I've watched this one. Do you remember how they got captured and stuff? Because I know it's one of those episodes where it begins where they're already captured and they emerge from the shoot and stuff. How did they get captured in the first place? Were they like charged with some like false crime or something? And that's why they were taken to that prison.
Trying to remember myself. No, I don't really remember how they got captured.
Not that it really matters because this was a Tom and Harry episode, and we all know Tom has been in prison. He's been in prison, so he's experienced. He knows. He kind of has experience dealing with stuff like that. Whereas Harry is more innocent in that regard. Like he's never been to prison. He's always been clean cut. This whole experience is totally new to him. So it was nice seeing that little contrast and stuff. And
Yeah, they had like, what's it called? Strange brain implants. So they were pretty much imprisoned on this satellite.
yeah, it's and I think that the entire facility was in space, right? It wasn't on like a moon or on a planetoid or anything, right?
No, I think it was just a satellite they were on.
Okay. All right. So it's the shoot. That's number 3. That's season 3, episode 3 of Voyager. That stuff. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 would be Equinox as well, and you pretty much covered everything I had to say about that one. Definitely.
Anything to
I
add?
wish we got to see more of the crewmates that were left behind, maybe in like a future episode, but didn't happen.
I got a question for you. Do you think that Janeway in this episode was kind of a little too harsh on Ransom?
She was a little harsher than usual, I would say. That I
Like she
just
wasn't.
think it's a very tough situation to be in, so I wouldn't know personally what call I'd make. But yeah, she was definitely a lot more.
Yeah, because remember that scene where
Because usually she's really calm.
Yeah, because remember that scene where he's in Janeway's office and stuff, and they're having a
I
discussion.
think she was just mad to see a captain like him kind of just.
Because he literally tells her like I had to do whatever it took to keep my people fed and to stay alive and stuff. We didn't have all your stuff.
They were killing those species, so they were pretty much
and she
breaking
simply
everything they stood for as Starfleet officers.
And her response is, "Oh, it's never easy and stuff." I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
it's easier for you because you haven't had to deal with that and stuff until Year of Hell." So, which is so yours is that was your number 2. Well, my number 2 is Year of Hell. So and that's a perfect segue right there. So
Great ship too.
Oh yeah, this time ship.
The
right
Anorax.
Here. Anorax is the name of the captain, played by the great Kurtwood Smith.
I believe the ship was also named the Anorax, though.
Is it? Oh, okay. I didn't. All right, I wasn't sure, but I just know it's called it's a time ship. and it basically they this two-parter basically you see like day one go all the way to like day 365, I think. And what was so interesting is that these guys Anorax and his crew live outside of space time, so they're practically immortal. They don't age or something.
Yeah.
At least that's my understanding, because they have like this chronoton field or something. Of course, once again, we're using
This was just
chronotons.
like one of my favorite parts of the show because we were finally getting a lot more of a progression in terms of what is the true advancement of species in the Delta Quadrant? What is it like out here? Because all we've seen in Star Trek is the Alpha Quadrant, and we know how
Hmm.
crazy that can get. But what's happening on the other side of the galaxy? This really pushed it because we've never seen this before, and especially they got Red Foreman to be playing this character, who is a great actor, and we just saw a ship that's able to completely manipulate time. Never seen that before, and it's like it shoots it like a laser cannon.
Yeah, and what it does is it's like a laser, and it basically touches a planet, and I don't know if it just wipes out the people or if it wipes out like the animals and stuff. I think it just wipes out the people. Or no, it probably wipes out like the animals and the buildings and stuff. It's hard to tell like how like exactly what is disappearing and stuff. But here's the thing: like every time like they do something like that, history of the galaxy changes. And so, what is Anorax's goal here? His goal is like he initially built he's the scientist that he's not only the captain of this weapon, he designed this weapon himself. So this was like years of this, like his life's work and stuff. And he basically used this weapon against an enemy they were at war with and stuff. And they used it, and as a result of it, his family, the colony that he's from, and his family vanished because of the change in history. And ever since then, for 200 years, him and his crew have been trying to calculate how to bring that colony back. That's the only thing that mattered to him. Nothing else did. He was willing to wipe out all these other races, all these other home worlds, to see if he could get, it wasn't about bringing the Krenim Imperium back. It was about bringing his family back. It was a very personal thing that I think if many of us could probably relate to. I mean, I know a lot of us wouldn't, resort to genocide, but like when it comes to family and stuff, it's just like family is like, family and stuff can, people can find motivation for doing bad stuff when it comes to things that, when they really want to reclaim, family, or really strong things that they're emotionally, tied to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and DJ Ronnie G brings up a good point right here, where Anorax was mentioning something about a comet and
Yeah,
how
he
preventing that comet could, stop the natural evolution of life on planets.
yeah, they said that like 8,000, as a result of that, 8,000 species vanished as a result of them wiping out that comet. So yeah, so it
Then
was
his wife would have been returned to him as child, and I think that's what did happen, right?
all right. This is what Jim the Viking says. He says it wipes out everything it deletes. It's from having it wipes out everything it deletes it from even having existed. Okay, yeah, that I do know. But I'm wondering if it like wipes out, because when it's shooting at the planet, does it wipe out like the buildings? Does it wipe out the grass on the ground and stuff?
It just think about it as a Thanos snap. It just wasn't even there. It just evaporates.
Now, I think with the Thanos snap, it's only people that disappeared, not
Well, yeah,
animals.
but this is
or
think about it on a larger scale. This is completely jettisoning everything that was
from
supposed
existence, from
yeah.
ever existing in the first place. And so
Yeah.
he's trying to undo.
No explosions. There's it's not like destruction, but it's just completely deleting everything.
Yes. Okay. So and hence he's trying to undo that. He's trying to undo what he did.
Pretty much.
And as a result of that, the Voyager encounters the Krenim Imperium. They encounter the ship. The ship is the Krenim ship is inferior to the their ship is inferior to their weapons or their capabilities and stuff. And it's funny is this is not the first time we meet the Krenim. We meet the Krenim in the episode from season 3 before and after. That's when Kes goes through life backwards and stuff. Remember that one where it starts off she's old, and then the episode kind of it gets to the point where she's like unborn and stuff, and then it goes back to her being
right,
normal. Remember that one?
She saw the future, and then she warned everybody about there's like something on, like we're in imminent danger, something's gonna happen because she saw the year of hell.
And that was literally, they literally say the year of hell. They foreshadowed the year of hell, literally. Like, they say, oh, the year of hell happened. We ran into...
Imagine if that weapon was used on Earth.
Right? But we get to see the year of hell, like, in that episode, before and after. Like, the ship is completely, effed up. And the Krenim have been, like, like super duper, like, they've been a danger to the Voyager and stuff. Like, people have died, and in that episode, Janeway and B'Elanna both get killed.
I don't remember. Did they destroy the Anarax in this episode?
In part 2, they did. It was what Janeway did was they figured it out. Well, they didn't figure it out. The crew basically told him, see, here's the thing. Anarax is the captain, and he's been doing this for 200 years. He's completely obsessed with bringing his family back. And he's doing this at the expense of everyone else, his crew.
Right.
His crew is not happy. His second in command is not happy.
But either. You have to remember, they're not happy because they're finally noticing that they're exterminating innocent life that does not need to be exterminated. But previously, they didn't mind doing it. They were like, okay, as long as it brings us back our empire and everything, we're fine with it. At the same time, they're noticing their wrongs, but they still have a lot of faults themselves. So I would say the Krenim could still be a potential threat in the future if they're smart with Star Trek. But because they're in Star Trek Online, which is really cool, they actually add a little bit more lore to the Krenim. And they have other ships besides the Anarax. They have like little cruisers, which are also time weapons. So eventually, with that, imagine all of that being used on Starfleet. That would be horrific if Starfleet was just erased from time. That would just be horrible.
Okay, so here DJ Ronnie G says, maybe when targeting a planet, it's set to a wide beam mode because it clearly doesn't make the planet itself go away. Or like a set of frequencies. Okay, that makes more sense. So, and you know what else? So basically, Voyager so before and after happens. So we get to see a little glimpse of the year of hell, which they literally name. Tom Paris basically declares that, hey, we went through this terrible period called the year of hell, and well, now we actually get to that point in this two-parter, and. So before, even before they get into all that damage and stuff, we see right here that they've just unveiled a new astrometrics lab and stuff. This is brand new, designed by Seven of Nine and Harry Kim, and this is their more advanced means of doing, I think, long range scanning, and if there's, and of course, basically measuring a proper course to the Alpha Quadrant with reference to the center of the galaxy. And that's basically what what astrometrics does. It basically does a whole bunch of cool stuff that's outside of the Federation scope of technology. Wouldn't you say, Spock?
Yeah.
So I love this. I love this little addition. Of course, that's why I included a picture of it as my background, because I just love the look of this room and stuff. Kind of makes me think of stellar cartography and Star Trek Generations a little bit, So they unveil this, and then right after that they get into the thick of it with the Krenim. Now the Krenim start off as like inferior technologically, so they pose no danger. Their weapons pose no threat to Voyager. But then when Anarax and the crew of the ship, the time ship, wipe out another colony, it wipes out the because they were making like an alliance, or they were having some sort of political relationship with this guy, the Zal. and the Zal basically all vanish because they wipe out the Zal homeworld. And I think after they wipe out the Zal homeworld, like they get 98% restoration. But the thing is, even though it was 98%, it didn't include that planet that colony that Anorax's family was on. So his family
It
didn't come
kind of
back.
like hinted that these guys were one of the main reasons whatever happened to the Anorax Empire. Like,
Yeah. So
but
like,
they weren't
but
fully responsible. They had assistance, which is why it was only 98%.
so wiping them out basically made the Krenim, like they made the ships bigger and more dangerous, and that's when they basically started. The ship Voyager started getting damaged, and because of all that weapons damage, it kept screwing with the integrity. So every time they went to warp or something, the structural integrity just went to shit. Like there was a point where like a whole deck was lost because of that, and the doctor was trying to evacuate everyone, and it got to the point where he's like there was two people left behind, but they were ran out of time, and then the whole thing blew up, and he had to seal the gate, or he had to seal the Jeffries tube and stuff with the two left behind and stuff, or not left behind, but killed in the explosion. So there was a lot of everyone. There was stakes. Everybody had a stake in this, and of course, in part two, Chakotay and Paris are captured by Anorax because they want to learn in order for them to do the proper calculations because Voyager kind of messed with their calculations and stuff. So they're trying to learn about. They want to learn about Voyager, and I don't remember if it's because of the fact that they installed chronoton shielding to protect themselves from these waves that have been going around. Because every time the time ship basically wipes out a civilization or something, there's always this big, massive temporal wave that goes around and just changes everything and stuff.
And I forget what the animation of the scene looks like for that. Maybe they left it as a mystery, so maybe in the future some smart CGI crew could make an idea for that. Because I always imagined that the Anorax weapon can be kind of, what's the word, distributed. So if they're trying to aim for 3 different targets in order to restore a certain timeline, the beam shoots out the front of the Anorax and can distribute into 3 different directions, going wherever it wants to. And how it actually works is that when it hits the planet, it's not like a nuclear explosion. It's almost like a giant purple glow goes around the planet, kind of exterminating or erasing all of the life as if it shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Undoing everything, pretty much.
So I think based on like what so basically the second in command basically tells Tom like how to basically basically disable them and stuff. They have to basically destroy the core of the ship. So Janeway after she basically at the end of part 1 Janeway sends like the crew away. So basically all the crew leave in like escape pods and stuff and go off to figure out how they can get home and stuff. He's like, we're gonna meet up again, and I want to hear stories. I want to hear awesome stories about what you guys went through in order to get home and stuff. And it was a very touching end of part 1 and stuff. Like, can you imagine like a whole season being like that, where everybody gets scattered and everyone has to come back together? I think that would have been a great idea, but obviously it wouldn't have been a very Star Trek idea though. But
Yeah.
or at least maybe I think they could have found a way to make it work within the Star Trek type of storytelling and stuff. But so I think all that's left are the senior officers on the Voyager. Tuvok is blind now because of there was an explosion in the Jeffries tube, and he protects 7 of 9. So 7 of 9 is basically indebted to him, and she wants to help him shave and do stuff that he can't do by himself because he's blind. And it was there was a lot of touching moments especially with Tuvok and Janeway, especially at the end of part 2 where Tuvok doesn't understand why people are like connected, or people personify ships as people and stuff. And to me, as far as I'm concerned, and the main character of every Star Trek show is the ship. We see the ship in every opening. It's not until like the stuff, the new stuff, the new Star Trek, that some people like for some reason, that they don't show the ships. The ships are not important apparently, but the ships are important.
Yeah.
That's what makes Star Trek, and then the crew are part of that ship. So, like Janeway says, I disagree. Voyager was an individual, and it was a very touching moment where they talked about like the importance of Voyager and stuff as like a, I guess, as like a mother, like a womb for the crew and stuff.
Part of the family, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
It's been with them all those 7 years trying to get home.
and I just loved how it ended. Like, Janeway was the only one on the ship. The ship was practically gonna. She basically does a kamikaze and just rams the ship right into Anorax's
Into the Anarax, yep. And then everything gets reset.
and everything gets reset after that. So and then we see he's like, so the
Now I'm just realizing, didn't Janeway also ram the ship into the Borg hive?
the Borg hive.
In
When?
one of the final episodes?
I don't know. Well, all I remember is what the old Janeway from the final from
Yeah.
the finale. Well, she had the virus, and then the virus basically blew up the hive, killed the Borg
Right.
Queen, and blew
What's
up
with
the
her
hive.
ramming into things?
Yeah, yeah. I think this is the only time she really. I don't recall any other time she rammed the ship into anything. But yeah, so she rams the ship in. Everything goes back. It's back to day one. They encounter the Krenim. The Krenim is like, hey, there's a dispute here. We don't recommend you come through here. And they're like, okay, sure, we'll just go around. So that whole Krenim thing gets avoided. And Anorax is back on his colony with his wife. His wife's like, it's a beautiful day. Come out, put your work down. Let's go do something. And I love how it ends with the camera kind of panning closer towards his pad, his work and stuff. And you're like, is history going to repeat? It was a very menacing tone. And it's supposed to, at least to me, it made me think, could history repeat itself? Could this time shift be a reality again and stuff?
It could. I think the Krenim are still there.
So
Waiting.
So yeah, so that kind of left they kind of left stuff open. So Jim the Viking is missed by most. The ship is what tis the family. The reason you are out there, not the captain, but you as the crew. Yeah. So I mean, the main character of every Star Trek show is the ship. Like the original series, Enterprise, and TNG, Enterprise D, Deep Space Nine, Deep Space Nine. Voyager, Enterprise, the NX. So that type of thing. So, all right. So any do you have any honorable mentions before we go to number one?
I do have some honorable mentions. That would be episode Resistance from, I believe, what season was this from? Season 2, episode 12. And this was the one where Catherine Janeway was disguised while on an away mission and was rescued by a man who thinks that she is his daughter.
Oh yeah, I kind of remember this one. Yeah, this was a very touching
The
episode.
ending of this episode was very sad. It's like I said about Voyager, it's always its final moments that the episodes really hit you. But they did a really good job of telling the story, and the person who thought that, Janeway was his daughter, and then the story behind his daughter and what happened to her was really sad. So, you can't you can do nothing but feel for the guy in this episode. What was his name again?
Let's see. His name is I don't know what his name is. Is there a name I'm not seeing?
Yeah, it's okay.
Calum.
Calum. Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
it was.
this. Oh, yeah. Okay, and he gets killed at the end. Yeah. So I forget why. Like I forget why he's delusional. Was it just because of trauma of losing his daughter
Trauma,
and
pretty
stuff, and
much,
he
yeah.
just can't. It's just one of those cases where he
Because
just can't.
they show in the episode that he's still kind of with it when he's with Janeway and everybody. He still can think and make plans. It's just all that trauma he's gone through, especially with his daughter. It's just made him go kind of nuts.
Yeah, so he's kind of in denial, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I have to rewatch this. Yeah, I have to. I need to rewatch Voyager. Um, yeah, this was a good one. So, what was another? Do you have any other honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. One more would be Deadlock.
Okay, Deadlock. I do know. My friend and I always joke about how how Harry Kim is actually dead. Because remember what happens to Harry Kim in Deadlock?
Yeah,
He gets
yeah.
sucked
But
into
actually,
space.
that's why this is a very big honorable mention for me, because they continue the story in Star Trek Online, and the official creators of Voyager have made it canon too. So it's if you want to see what happens with that Harry Kim, you can. He doesn't
Yeah.
actually die.
So what happens is the Vidians, I think, attack them. They're like caught in like some sort of another anomaly and stuff where there's like two realities kind of, basically connecting, or they're kind of diverging a little bit. So one
Yeah.
reality is where they're being attacked by the Vidians and stuff, and then there's our reality. So I think one of the few things I remember is that in our reality, the one that we're following, we meet Samantha Wildman, Ensign Wildman, and she's pregnant and she loses her baby and stuff. She goes into labor and she loses her baby, and it's heartbreaking. So that's one of the things that happens, and then, if I remember correctly, we lose Harry Kim. Harry Kim gets sucked into outer space.
Sucked
And
into
stuff.
outer space. Blech.
Yeah. So a buddy of mine who watched Voyager, he hated Harry Kim, so he was happy to see him go. But then they used the other ship. The other ship was about to get destroyed by the Vidians. So like, okay, we can. They make contact with the other ship, the other Voyager, and they're like, okay, bring your baby, bring the infant, and bring Harry Kim, and we'll leave the rest of you to die and stuff. So anything that's how I that's how I kind of that's what I took away from it. What about you? Since you like this, I want to hear.
Well, the reason I really wanted to make this an honorable mention is because of its continuation in the video game. But
How does it continue, if I may be so bold?
basically, that species that was able, what were they called again?
The
that
Vidians?
one species where they would whenever somebody would die in the crew, they would jettison them into space, but unknowing, one of these species would take the corpses and make it one of their own race. I forgot the name of that species.
That was in
Started
Voyager?
with a K. Yes, it started with a
Oh,
K.
it was wasn't there like a lieutenant that gets killed that
Yes.
Chakotay was with Chakotay, and then she comes back as an alien and stuff?
Yeah,
Is that who you're talking about? I
Yep.
don't remember that. I think that was season 3 or season 4.
that same species took Harry Kim, the one that went flying in space after he died, and turned them
Oh.
into their species.
Interesting.
Harry Kim, the one we know that went through all 7 seasons of this show, came down from Starfleet was it intelligence to team up with your captain in order to calm down this other Harry Kim from going crazy, because he's turning into the species, and both of the Harry Kims are pretty much talking to each other, and they actually got Garrett Wang to voice him. So he was like telling himself like, that was me. I was the one who survived on Voyager, and he said, no, you stole my life. So there's like a pretty good dialogue happening between those two.
Okay. All right. So that's your okay. So that's so Deadlock is your honorable mention. Okay. So I wrote down a bunch of honorable mentions, but I'll only mention 2 just for the sake of posterity. So let's see. What are my honorable mentions? Okay. One was Okay, one was Jatral that you already mentioned. I loved that episode. It's probably my favorite from season one. Another episode I really liked was the Omega Directive. You ever remember the Omega Directive?
Yes, that was
Which
a great episode.
it felt like you were watching an old Mission Impossible episode where everything is secret. Like like Janeway just completely goes into like she goes into complete what do you
I really like that because they showed that ranks still matter no matter where they are. So the Omega Directive, like, nope, zip. You gotta keep that shut. You can't tell anybody else except for the captain is the only one who's supposed to know about it.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool the idea that there's something there's stuff that only captains
Did
are
Tuvok
aware
know? I
of.
believe Tuvok knew
No,
what was
nobody knew.
happening.
It was only Janeway. Only because like there's literally a point in this episode where like Chakotay's like, please
That's
let us
crazy
help
that
you.
Tuvok didn't even know because all his years at Starfleet Academy, like training for 30 years, and he still didn't know what the Omega Directive is. That's crazy.
I think he's only a lieutenant, I think, or a lieutenant, or at
They
this point
they
he's a
well
lieutenant
Vulcans live a
commander.
long time, so they probably know
Yeah,
what they're doing.
yeah, that's true. So, but yeah, I think it's obviously classified for rank of captain and above. So, but yeah, so basically, what happens is Janeway goes into like complete isolation. Once she gets this reading, you get this big Omega symbol up here, and then everything she just says, just delete everything, send everything to my quarters, and then she goes into complete seclusion for a long time. And then she gives out a bunch of orders, and people don't understand the context of the orders to the point where the crew gets concerned. They're like, "We don't understand what's going on," and she's like, "Well, I am not at liberty to tell you because this is classified." And we find out ultimately what it is. It's basically this. There's this particle called the omega part that they call the omega particle, which is like something that science. This is the one thing in the Star Trek universe that basically is a representation of science going too far. So, what is in this? Let's say Starfleet Federation. What is their way of life? What is their primary? What is the thing that could disrupt their way of life? I'll let you answer that, Spock.
Wait, sorry?
What is in Starfleet, like the way they live in Starfleet and space? Being spacefaring. What is the biggest threat to that life?
To spacefaring life will be probably
Yeah.
their warp technology.
Yeah, so if you destroy subspace, which is what they use to go to warp and stuff, you can't go to warp. You can't do any space travel. It's like imagining like running. It's basically the same idea of kind of running out of fossil fuel or running out of power to be able to power your vehicles and stuff to get from place to place and stuff.
Oh,
And
bring up what DJ just said. That's a good point.
um says non
Not a Star
STD.
Trek Discovery fan, but they should have used the Omega particle as the basis for the burn. And I
They probably
haven't
don't
seen
even know what
any
the
of,
omega particle is.
Yeah. I haven't seen the season where the burn is introduced. I know about it. I know what basically happened because of it.
Oh, this is a good one. Biggest threat, rug burn on a galactic scale. So, but yeah, so they got wind of this particle being developed by this alien species. So
Sorry.
they go. So this episode goes on a heist type of mission and stuff. They go to retrieve.
Yeah.
They go to retrieve this particle, and I forget what they do to neutralize it. And Seven of Nine, being a Borg, like the Omega particle is like the closest thing to God to the Borg and stuff. So like the Omega particle is the representation of perfection to them, which I thought was a very interesting idea. So even the Borg have their own, faith or their means of, strive to, or the means to, live their lives or to strive to something.
That's
better
pretty
than
much
themselves.
that's the interesting part of it because the Omega particle is the god of the Borg. That's what they worship pretty much because it's absolute perfection is what they're looking for.
And once again, like they said, the omega particle is just completely unstable. Like it's practically impossible to stabilize it. So whenever like Starfleet ever catches wind of a race, making this thing, put aside the Prime Directive, go in, retrieve all samples and neutralize them.
It pretty much represents the barrier. What I like to think, the Omega particle is the barrier of the 24th century. It's the part of technology we haven't been able to reach yet, which I like. There should be a barrier, unlike what the current Trek is doing, where ships are allowed to have super advanced technology in time zones that make no sense. The Omega particle pretty much represents that this is something Starfleet nor the Romulans or anyone else can stabilize. It's something anyone has invented yet to stabilize this. That's my favorite part about it, because it represents the barrier of technology.
Yeah, I was right here. It says right here, the directive also authorized the use of any and all means to destroy an Omega molecule, superseding all other regulations, including the Prime Directive. It was deemed necessary because of the extreme power and consequently catastrophic threat to interstellar civilizations posed by even a single molecule. So yeah, so this is basically restricted to captains and flag. What exactly is a flag officer? Are they like in Starfleet? Like commodores, rear admirals. Okay, so they're slightly higher than captains. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically my special honorable mentions and stuff. So, are you ready for your number one episode? And I think I know what it is because I think you've told me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So what is it?
My number one episode would be Future's End.
How did I know? How did I know? I had this ready for you.
This is just... Oh man, when I saw this episode, I could just not stop thinking about Voyage Home, Star Trek 4, and like callbacks that they were doing with this. But at the same time, it turned out to be their own thing, because this is how I believe the Doctor finally got his... what's it called? His mobile emitter?
Mobile emitter, yep.
Yeah, that's how. This is the episode where he got it for the first time and was able to pretty much walk outside. He was just walking everywhere. It was really cool to see that. And the actors they got for this, what's his name? The one who plays the main villain for this episode.
Ed Begley Jr. plays Henry
yes.
Starling.
Very, very, very good performance he gives. I absolutely thought that him outsmarting Janeway for him just being like in the 21st century was pretty
you're
crazy.
You're just from the 24th century. You're no threat to me. I thought that was funny because he was expecting people from the 29th century to come after him.
Yeah.
No, you're just from the 24th century. I love that little quip right there. So here's Henry Starling as a hippie, and even though this is unrelated, you know what I'm really looking forward to that he's actually going to be in for the final season? Better Call Saul. He plays another attorney and stuff. So I can't wait to seeing him makes me more excited for the new season. I don't know if you've ever seen Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, but they're really cool. Like
I've seen Breaking Bad. I haven't really finished Better Call Saul.
There was one episode where they were so high on meth and stuff that one of the characters, Badger, was like trying to write his own Star Trek original series episode and stuff.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, so yeah, there's because I think the writers of those shows are fans of Star Trek. They even Saul Goodman, Better Call Saul, he literally says to because they have the RV that they make all the drugs in. He's like, come on, dude, you have to figure out a way to get rid of it so law enforcement doesn't have it. Even the Starship Enterprise had a self-destruct. I laughed when I heard that coming from Bob Odenkirk saying that. So
yep.
So that kept me watching.
What's her name again? That they were able to grab her, the actress for this episode that kind of had a thing for her, Tom Harris.
Harris. The one that was in that horrible Christmas special on HBO Max.
Yeah,
Sarah Silverman. Yeah,
I thought Sarah Silverman did a good job in this episode. I won't lie, she did a really good job.
I think she plays like
she actually felt
astrologist.
Like a genuine. Yeah, she felt like a genuine a nerd for astronomy in this episode.
And she picks up. I think she picks up Voyager and tries to, find out and stuff. Nobody can take her
She's like
seriously.
she plays the same character in Star Trek 4. The one that is the one that keeps poking questions at Spock and Kirk. I forget her name.
Jillian, I think.
Yeah, she kind of is in the same shoes as her. She keeps poking questions. She's not sure who Tom really is and if he's telling the whole truth. I really like that scene with them in the truck together, just talking. That was a really down-to-earth scene between Sarah Silverman and, why do I always forget Tom Paris's actor's name?
Robert Duncan McNeil.
Robert Duncan McNeil, yes. I thought that was a great scene between the two.
And I am corrected. Did I say astrologer? I meant astronomer. Sorry, I'm getting my names mixed up. Isn't astrology where they talk about like the
where they talk about the signs and
constellations?
Constellations, yes.
Okay, yeah, she's not. She's an astronomer. So, so I loved how they brought in like the 29th century idea and stuff, and of course they follow this up in Relativity, which was another great episode. I love seeing the bridge, and I could believe it was the 29th century because of how advanced they were compared to everyone else. They had the temporal prime directive. They went back in time at whim anywhere in the galaxy. So it was pretty cool.
That was smart that they had that temporal prime directive, because not only were they just trying to make something funny like, oh, a temporal prime directive, that sounds silly, but it makes sense for the universe that we're set in with Star Trek. They have a prime directive. In the future, it only makes sense if we gain the power of time travel, we would have a time directive of some sort,
So, yeah, and with episodes like these, it just makes taking, like, the new Trek stuff like Discovery seriously, because they're supposed to be in the 32nd century, so they're supposed to be like 300 years past this point, the 29th century, and yet they look no different from the 24th century. Heck, they don't even look any different from the Orville, and it's supposed to be the 25th century.
Yeah.
Even though it's in a totally different universe, but still. So it just kind of really makes it. Just kind of really does. It really. Yeah. I loved. I still see the 29th century as like. Well, actually, when did they meet in Enterprise? The guy, the temporal people from the temporal Cold War, I think are from the 31st century, aren't they? Do you know?
They're from the 31st century.
But they mastered time travel as well, so it kind of coincides with this, with the the time. With Federation.
I'm sorry.
In the 29th century.
They're from the 26th century, I believe. The Daniels and his people.
Okay. So look who came into the chat. Everest Productions, Lord Crit himself has joined the chat.
I have to double check that. What's up, Crit?
So Crit's here, and he says his top 5 episodes of Voyager. Since I don't like the show, they're much or limited, but they are. 5 is Tuvix. Oh, Tuvix is one that people debate to this day. Tuvix. 4, Future End. 3, Real Life. Okay, Real Life I did like. Real Life is the one where I think the Doctor basically gets a family, a holodeck family, and remember how it starts off like it looked like a typical 50s sitcom family where they're like perfect and everyone's happy no matter what. Yeah. And he comes home and everybody's happy to see him and stuff. And B'Elanna rolls her eyes like, that's not a real home. And then we got to see 90s. We got to see some 90s edge with his son. He's like, his son's listening to Klingon. His friends are Klingons, and they're like, "They're bad influences on. They're bad influences on you." Yes, it was. And then, of course, it ends very sadly, even though it was a hologram. But it was his daughter gets hit by something. She got hurt, and she ended up passing away. And it was
they were
together.
I did not expect that turnout. Yeah,
I did not expect that either. So, so that's that's his number 2. Well, that's his number 3. Number 2, Living Witness. I've talked about that. And then number 1, Year of Hell. There might have been. Yeah. So it would have been interesting if they would have done a whole season like the Year of Hell and stuff. But it didn't happen. So let's not.
I disagree. They should have made a movie. They should have definitely made a movie about the Year of Hell.
Yeah, I'll be
instead of,
honest.
like,
At this point, I was expecting them to make Deep Space Nine movies and Voyager movies because at this point they were still making like the TNG movies. So I thought they were going to make
yeah.
movies for all the different shows. And after
I
Nemesis,
thought
they
that would have
just
been
stopped.
that would have been pretty logical. It's very Spock of me to say, but that would have been pretty logical because these two shows were really taking off. Deep Space Nine more so than Voyager, but both of them were doing fairly well that could have afforded to make their own movie.
Yeah, Deep Space Nine. I think, like I said earlier, Deep Space Nine. Rick Berman was pretty much hands off, so like the
Yeah.
writers could kind of do whatever they wanted. So you had Ira Stephen Burr, Ronald D. Moore, Robert Hewitt Wolf, and a few others. They would basically try to basically continue the type of story telling that really started with season 3 of TNG and stuff. Like they would set up, open. They would start set up like character season long show long arcs basically, and of course then there was like then they did the 6-parters, the 10-parters in the last couple of seasons dealing with the Dominion and the finale and stuff. So the finale for Deep Space Nine to me is all 10 episodes. The last 10 episodes are basically the finale to me, not just What
Yeah.
You Left Behind. Even though What You Left Behind is a 2-parter, but it was all the episodes that preceded it to me are the finale too. So, but whereas Voyager was under the microscope of the head of the franchise, Rick Berman, and he wanted to be just like TNG. So, on a ship exploring strange new worlds, but this time in the Delta Quadrant, and
No,
but
you said Strange New Worlds. How dare you?
oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the moniker of the original series, which
I know, I'm
New
kidding.
Trek, New Star Trek stole from. So, but I'm gonna watch Strange New Worlds. So I don't know if I'm gonna watch it every week because
I
just the way
commend
they
you,
write.
sir.
Well, the way they write episodes, like an episode is just like you have to watch the. It's like with Disney Plus. It's a whole. It's like watching a movie and split into like parts. So like it ends like, and then they try to have some major revelation that ends. So like when everyone's expecting to see Q, they leave it till the end of the episode, end of the first episode, where they finally
Right.
see Q, because that's how they write stuff now. So, oh well.
I think my final thoughts for this Future's End Part 1 and 2 though is just Starling as a whole, his character. He's just, I think, truly a reprehensible villain compared to any of the other aliens that Voyager has met in the quadrant.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. He's that type of villain and stuff. So, at least that's I think who they kind of based him off of. So, all right. So you know what my number one episode is? Can
What
you
is
guess
your
what my
number one?
Can you guess what my number one episode is?
I don't think I could.
It has something to do with an old fable. It's the story of the fox and the scorpion. So there's a river, and the scorpion wants to get across, but he can't swim. So he asks the fox, "Hey, can I ride on your back?" And the fox is like, "If I let you ride on my back, you're going to sting me, and then I'm going to drown, and we're both going to drown." He's like, "Oh, don't worry, I won't sting you," and stuff. And so the fox is like, "Okay, fine, I'll take your word for it." So he tries to take the scorpion across, swims across, and the scorpion stings him. And the fox is like, "Why did you do that? Now we're both going to drown." He's like, "Well, I kind of did that because it's kind of within my nature to sting you. So, yeah." So this episode is called, you guessed it, Scorpion. This is the episode that got me into Voyager. I watched it. I was in the hospital. I was in the ER. I was in 6th grade. We're approaching the end of my 6th grade year. This was in May, I believe, of '97. And I started watching. I started collecting the original series tapes, and TNG was on every Saturday night, and Voyager was on every Wednesday night. New episodes or reruns from the season were on during the summer. Well, right before this, I watched the last couple episodes of season 3, and that's really when I started watching Voyager and stuff. So I saw this episode, and I'm like, holy crap, this was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Because I saw First Contact before. First Contact was the first Star Trek movie that I saw in the theaters. So I already knew who the Borg were, but I didn't see like all of TNG yet at that point. So I didn't see like, Locutus or or Picard turning into Locutus, or Best of Both Worlds, and all the other TNG Borg episodes. So this was the other. This is like the second time I've seen the Borg, and they were freaking losing. And at the time, I didn't understand like why everybody was so afraid of species 8472. And then I watched episodes like Best of Both, and I'm like, oh, now I know why.
They're
Because
crazy.
the
They're
Borg are
honestly
like they're the
scary.
ultimate enemy. The Borg are the ultimate enemy. Like you can't beat them. Like they adapt to
Or so you
they
think.
they adapt to your weapon. They adapt to all your weapons. And when they try to board your ship, they even adapt to they themselves have a shield that allows them to adapt if you keep using the same phase or frequency, I believe. So
Well, that's the reason why species 8472 was pretty much more dominant over the Borg, which is why they were the only species that they weren't able to ever assimilate, is because their weaponry is constantly remodulating. That means the Borg, no matter how hard they try, they're never going to be able to adapt to it. So their ships pretty much just blow up like tin cans. They can't ever go against the Undine. But eventually some do get assimilated. Some very few Undine do get assimilated. I don't know if it's ever shown in the show, but I have seen it a lot in the game. But whether or not those are canon or not, who knows? But
So yeah, I keep forgetting that they're called the Undine in Star Trek Online. So the reason why I just rewatched it this morning. Reason why the species A472 was immune to assimilation is because they were like the apex of immune, like when it comes to like biology and the immune system, they are at the apex of immunity and stuff when it comes to anything that will any organism or any intruder that will come in and mess with mess with the biology of whatever. And of course them having bioships as opposed to mechanical ships was another big thing too. So the Borg just simply couldn't assimilate it. It's not until Voyager basically helps the Borg, and this was a very interesting thing that I think they should have done a little bit more of. So here's another idea of another missed opportunity. Honestly, Spock. I don't know if you guys in the chat would agree with this. I think Species A472 should have been the big bad of the rest for the rest of the series, and I think the Borg should have been a secondary villain. And so by the time we got to the end of the show, there would have been like a three-way conflict between Voyager, the Borg, and Species A472.
that would have been interesting. I just don't like how the finale ends at all. I think a lot of Voyager fans, maybe not everybody, but everyone that I've talked to at least that likes Voyager can agree that the finale is very weak in terms of delivering what happens to the crew after and just the pure impact of it all, because all those 7 seasons we go through, all we get is just a panning shot of Voyager heading towards Earth. That's it.
I saw that episode when it was the end of my sophomore year of high school. This was 2001. So I was 16, and I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool when I first saw it. I mean, I compared it right away to the Batmobile. Like Voyager basically became the Batmobile. Like they had that armor that they unleash on it and stuff that they get from the future. It was basically Batman. If you remember, do you ever see Batman 1989 and how he would press the button in the Batmobile?
Yeah.
He had that little shield to keep it
It
impervious to
did
like
kind of
guns.
remind me of that, yeah, like when it deployed the extra armor. I honestly didn't mind the I thought it was a pretty cool design. The what's it called? The what did they call it again? The shield?
I don't remember. I don't
Armor?
remember. I
There you
don't
go, yeah.
remember.
It's the ablative armor that she would deploy, and
And I forget they
I would honestly
upgraded.
like to see that on a lot of ships. The Galaxy class, that would be cool to see the ablative armor go on.
Yeah, you never
the
you never see that
Defiant.
again. You never see
Mhm.
that again. So
And that's something really good to use against the Borg or hell even the Dominion.
like they literally had the technology. They brought the technology back to Earth with them, and then you never see it again. But I guess, well, I mean, other than the only thing that takes place after the finale of Voyager is, well, Star Trek Nemesis. And then, I mean, if you count other, stuff that calls itself new Star Trek, I think they just kind of forgot about it. But that's beside the point. So, just wanted to say hello to some people that showed up in the chat. So, Sadakar 7th Legion, I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Thanks for coming by.
How's it going?
He's chatting all the way from Scotland, from the Highlands. And then we have Anthroparian. What's up, Anthroparian? And we have Christian Fandom Geek. And he's
favorite Star Trek show.
He's with you on this. It's his favorite Star Trek show. So yeah, welcome. Thanks for coming by. And then we also have the Matt Cave. The Matt Cave is here. Hail. I didn't remember if you liked Star Trek or not, but that's cool. Yeah, thank you guys for showing up. So, but yeah, going back to Scorpion. Yeah, this was like just part one. I don't know about you which episode you like more, part one or part two, but I think part one really it really sets the tone for it felt like this was the Voyager was going into extremely epic territory when they're they're going into extremely grave danger, and there's conflict between Janeway and Chakotay on courses of action. Janeway wants to make Janeway here's the thing, Borg space was something that they were dreading ever since they got pulled into the Delta Quadrant. I don't even remember when. Maybe you guys in the chat can help me. I don't remember exactly when they established that the Borg were based in the Delta Quadrant, because I remember
since TNG, I believe. No, I take that back.
Q they were in the Alpha Quadrant. The system J25, I think, was still in the Alpha Quadrant. They were only a couple years away. They were a couple years away.
Because I thought in the episode, Q said he's launched him over 400,000 light years away, or 100 or a million or something.
No, it was only it's only a segment of the way. They were still in the Alpha Quadrant, I believe. And it was just that one ship.
I could have swore it was the Delta Quadrant.
No, the El-Orients I don't think are from. I don't think the El-Orients are from the Delta Quadrant. It was basically where the El-Orients originally came from. So I believe I think Data said it was 2 to 3. They were 2 to 3 years away from their location. So they needed Q to snap them back and stuff. But yeah, system J25 was not in the Delta Quadrant this. So I remember in First Contact, Beverly Crusher says, "Hey, aren't the Borg in the Delta Quadrant this time?" Because in First Contact, the Borg are trying to build a transmitter from the deflector, I believe. And of course, you get that famous, they go out into space. Picard, Worf, and that one red shirt guy who was in Band of Brothers. They go out there, they take out the Borg, and of course, they destroy the deflectors, or they destroy the transmitter, and you know what Worf says? "Assimilate this," and then blows them up. Remember that? This. Yeah. So, but yeah, that was, I think, I don't remember when. I don't think they ever. I think that was the earliest that they established that the Borg were all the way in the Delta Quadrant. So, and of course, Voyager kind of elaborate on that further. They needed a villain, so they decided to bring the Borg into it, since Deep Space Nine was doing its own thing with the Cardassians, and then eventually the Dominion in the Gamma Quadrant. So yeah, that's what I. So I think they needed a villain, so they brought in the Borg and stuff. So I don't know. Do you think that's possible?
I say that's accurate.
And then they came up with and then they decided, let's come up with another villain that could destroy or defeat the Borg, and let's bring up the stakes even higher and stuff. So one thing I got a big kick out of, and I didn't notice this at first, but when the bioship, when 7 or 8 bioships come together in formation, and they do that, they basically fire their bio weapon like a Death Star. The beams all converge into a single beam and destroys planet. Literally destroys planets. And just one of those beams from one of those little bioships, they fired at Voyager, and Voyager went spinning. Remember that shot where they shoot at Voyager in the first part, and then Voyager goes spinning out of control until they finally regain control, and Tom Paris takes them into warp and stuff. Luckily, they didn't get followed, but Heck, it's a good thing they had the EMH, because if the EMH did not figure out how to modify Borg nanoprobes to create to help the Borg build a weapon or build torpedoes to take out species 8472, they would have been dead and stuff. So
Yeah.
I loved how they like there was a little squadron of bioships that go after them in part two, and they fire that high yield warhead and destroys like
I'm
13
just
at
I
once.
personally think a lot of people do bring this up too with the show is that Voyager sustains so much damage and then in the next episode it just looks fine again. My excuse for that is always they do repair. It's just always shown off screen. I don't always agree with that though. It should be shown on screen their repairs because I just sometimes it doesn't make sense that they're just able to recover from a shot from an Undine ship. I mean, that was a bit excessive if you ask me. They should have at least had part of their saucer taken off because of that. Because those things destroy Borg cubes, and all it did
Yeah,
was
so
tap the
yeah,
Voyager ship.
yeah. I mean, at least here's the thing. At least they said, "Oh, we can't take another hit, or we're toast and stuff."
Pretty
So,
much, yeah. They
but
take
yeah,
another hit, they're gone.
so so Matt Cave asked, "Did Voyager have any films like TNG did?" It's
No,
funny.
but
It's funny
people
you
do
should ask
consider the
that.
two-parters films.
It's funny you should ask that because even though they didn't have any films themselves, you know who does make an appearance in Star Trek Nemesis? Admiral Janeway. Admiral Janeway. So she outranks Picard and assigns Picard to go to the Romulans to find to meet the new Praetor and stuff in Star Trek Nemesis. So yeah. So no, they didn't make any films, but we did get to see a nice little cameo from Kate Mulgrew and stuff.
Well, I'm sure that annoyed everybody who didn't like Janeway. Good.
I'm sure a lot of people don't like a lot of people because of the Tuvix episode. They call her murderer and stuff because she literally
That's
the way
just ridiculous.
the way people view Tuvix is basically him being executed by being forced to revert
Well,
back to
I
Neelix and
disagree.
Tuvok.
He wasn't even supposed to be there in the first place. It was a freak of nature, if you ask me.
Yeah, so yeah, that's basically
You're mixing
what
two
happens.
different people, and obviously, one sentient person comes out of it. But is it right to keep that person alive?
And
She didn't
especially
really
after
kill
that,
it. She didn't
and
kill
especially
him. She
and especially well, he did. Well, here's the thing: this happens against his will. Like he doesn't want to revert back because as far as he's concerned, he's just always been Tuvix. So it was a weird way to end it was a weird way to end the episode. And I'm
I
guessing this
just
was
don't think that episode was handled too well, personally. I understand the message they were putting across and what they were trying to reflect in real life, but
yeah.
this was taking it in a really unorthodox point of view, where you're taking two people and you're mashing them into one single person. That's considered an abomination, as far as I'm concerned.
It's like how are we supposed to feel about this? Like, are we supposed to be against Janeway? Are we supposed to side with Janeway?
Because
Like,
those two people, Tuvok and Neelix, didn't want to become mashed together and become one person. So that's just a crime right there. They didn't have any say of they didn't want that to happen to them. I'm sure as hell Tuvok didn't want that happening to him. So yeah,
yeah,
I
I
just
mean,
don't think that episode was handled too well.
I actually agree with that. I mean, like, I feel that, and if you guys in the chat disagree with me, that's fine. I mean, this is one of those episodes that really, is really kind of
It's a
divisive.
controversial episode.
It's very controversial and stuff, but I mean, when it comes to it, I mean, you want the people that were there first to return. And the weird thing is, usually things are irreversible, but in this weird instance, it was reversible, and that was the problem. Was it was reversible? Like, you could bring them back whole and stuff. And plus, the Tuvix actor was not contracted to do more episodes, so they had to bring Tim Russ
If
and
anything,
Ethan Phillips
this
back.
episode just showed our ignorance of humanity in Starfleet when it comes to the transporter, because we think we have it all figured out, but we still have all these accidents, in quotes. We still have transporter, what was it called, that Barkley was freaking out about that he thought he had. There's still cases like that, and there's still cases like what happened with Tuvix. So we obviously don't have it down for transporter technology. that was just whatever happened with Tuvok and Neelix. That was an accident that wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so that I think that is the most controversial episode. Like people still argue about it. People have been arguing about that online for years. Like I've seen
Oh yeah.
nasty things about it on Facebook and Twitter, and it's
I mean, people take it a little too seriously. They have to understand, even though me and you are both big fans of Star Trek, we have to understand that this is just fantasy and it's all fake. But we can at least appreciate the stories that they're telling us and what it's reflecting to. You know, like we just talked about with the Hiroshima callback that episode was doing. Frick, it just slipped my tongue. What was that episode?
Jatrell.
We're just, huh?
Either
Yeah,
Jatrell
Jatrell.
or the Omega Directive. It could be either of those.
I think it was
Same
Jatrell.
idea.
Yeah, it's just you can at least appreciate those values in each episode, but I don't like the fans who attack other people just because of their opinion on a very controversial episode. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
people twist a lot of people's words. That's the worst part.
Yeah, that happens, and I yeah, like there's gonna be episodes like these, um, but at least the writers were trying to make a point and stuff. There was a beginning, middle, and end, and I would prefer Tuvix
Yeah.
over the stuff that they're making now because the stuff that they're making now is just simply designed to be divisive, and I don't like to hear people say that a particular side of a political aisle should not would not or are surprised that people on a particular side of a political aisle would not be into Star Trek, and that's just baloney. Star Trek is nonpartisan. I went to church with a lot of conservatives, and a lot of conservatives appreciate the humanity that Star Trek talks about and stuff. Even though
Yeah.
Star Trek is very
Because look at it like this. It's like a tweet I had with a person a long time ago, and he said, Voyager, Enterprise, um, uh, and people were very skeptical about Enterprise, but Voyager, Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, TNG, they're not like what Star Trek is now. They're not replacing anything. They're adding to what Star Trek already was from the original series. They're adding more stories. It's additional Trek open-mindedness that was duly rewarded. All right.
yes,
But this
yes,
this time, the open-mindedness has not been rewarded at all. It's just been abused.
I agree. Yeah, and the stories that they're trying to tell is just it's really hard. It's almost impossible to get invested at this point because they don't even take their own continuity seriously. So if they can't take their own continuity seriously, then how can a viewer take it seriously? Unless you like all things Star Trek, which is I guess fine too. But I'm not gonna. I will not judge you for what you like and stuff. And
Yeah, I don't
if you
like.
enjoy it, I would
Yeah,
love to hear your take on why you enjoy it. Just
exactly.
besides the
Yeah.
fact that it is labeled Star Trek.
I
Because
always think somebody is really. You have to be really low to attack somebody and make fun of them. Like, if obviously if it's just banter, then that's fine. But if you're really arguing and making fun of somebody just because of their show that they like Discovery or whatever, that's just that's really low. I
So
personally don't. I'm not gonna agree with anybody. Like we're not gonna agree too much. If you like Star Trek Discovery and I like classic Trek, we might not agree on too many things. But I'm not gonna attack you and say you have horrible taste and you should just stop watching Star Trek. That's gatekeeping. That's horrible. That's something we should never do as fans. But I just,
unless they try to destroy it, unless they
well,
try to they
that's
rip
not.
away
It's not usually the viewers that are at fault. It's the creators that are attracting these viewers. The ones that are
yes.
like the ones that are saying on Twitter, like, "Oh, it's all just make believe. Why should we care? It's just pretend. Oh, guys didn't take it so seriously." Then obviously you aren't a fan.
They
If you're
don't
saying
care.
stuff like that, you must not be a genuine fan. So why are you even here? That's just all I
Exactly.
have to say.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree with that. I can understand that. So, but I'm not. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about fans. I was thinking about the creators and the ones that are really fundamentally doing like kind of taken away the fiber that makes it what it is,
I
that makes
see.
it unique, that makes it exceptional and stuff.
Yeah.
Because the stuff
Yeah.
that they're making now is very generic, generic type
I
of
this is why I
streaming
appreciate
content.
shows like Voyager, man. When I was so happy to join the stream with you and talk to you about these episodes, because these episodes hold so much more weight, especially Jatrell and everything we talked about today. They hold so much more weight to what episodes we're seeing today, and I'm sure everybody who's seen season 2 of Picard already can. Well, I'm sure there's probably those biased fans out there who really enjoyed the show, and that's fine. But I can guarantee you, I haven't seen the season myself, but I can already guarantee you nothing holds as much weight as these ones.
Oh
Because
no,
just watching season 1 of Picard, I mean, it kind of already sets the tone of what show that's going to be.
I heard episode 3 reverts back to what season 1 was like. What season 1 was like. So, um, I'm gonna have to. I've been watching clips on YouTube and stuff. So,
Yeah,
of,
and this is one thing a lot of people get attacked for is just appreciating the Rick Berman era. Like, what control do people have over the year they were born and what they grew up with? What control do people have over that? Of course, they're gonna
none.
be more attached to the Rick Berman era because that's what literally capitalized Star Trek. If you're a Discovery fan, that's fine, but if you honestly believe that what you're watching now, Discovery Picard, is the reason Star Trek is popular,
It's
that
not.
is and this isn't just an opinion, that's incorrect. You have to realize that that's very false reasoning.
So I wanted to read this from Anthroparian.
Go for it.
So Star Trek could be an opportunity to bridge the aisles. Yes, that's exactly, and I felt it did that earlier and stuff with these shows, the 735 episodes, including the 10 films. That's what I feel this did. But no, they have to crap on the side they disagree with, broadening the divide. Good stuff from Hollywood. Yeah, it's awful. I can't believe that they're. I honestly can't believe that they're doing this, and a lot of the actors are on board with this. The actors from these shows, from Voyager, TNG, and it's heartbreaking, but that's life, as Picard says in what episode was that? The one with Worf and there was the episode or the episode where he tells Data that you can make no mistakes and you still fail and stuff. And
Yeah.
that's life. It kind of makes me think about that kind of. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's it's just way too divisive, and I just don't appreciate that, and I don't appreciate treating like fans of a
They
particular
treat characters like absolute crap on these shows, especially in the Picard TV show. They're trying to display the fact that Picard isn't actually he hasn't looked high upon. They actually blame him for a lot of things, which honestly I don't understand why they're going with this direction. I understand they're trying to
this
build the
happens,
character.
and this
Go
happens
ahead.
again. That character Raffi from season 1, the one
Right.
that Picard got her fired from Starfleet. I didn't know you could get fired from Starfleet, but she gives him crap about Q not doing anything about Q. She yells at him again in the latest episode, and I'm like,
No, that's just ignorant
I'm
because
just
she
like,
wasn't there.
but you know what the best part of this season was seeing Q again. And Q, John Delancey, he just owns that role. Even in that episode, with the kind of crappy writing, like he literally says, "How yesterday's Enterprise of you," to Picard. It was he still. It felt like I was watching Q. It felt like I was watching him being Q. The only issue I had with that was,
Well, here's the thing. I saw a lot of the clips of John Delancey on YouTube. That guy is a talented actor. There's no screwing him up. But one
No,
thing you can't screw up a thing about Q is what is his motive in the show and what is he going to be doing in the show. That's one of the things you can screw up, and I'm pretty sure they are going to screw that up. Because I don't know why Q is even here. What is he going to do? Why is he coming back to Picard after so many years? Picard should literally be a retired admiral right now, relaxing and going on some crazy adventure with his past crewmates. Not
Yeah.
having to deal with some crazy psycho twin, Romulan, and Romulan's taking control over a Borg cube crap. It's
I don't
just
get
really,
what happened.
they're really overhyping the build to these episodes where, oh my god, it's a Borg cube. You guys remember a Borg cube? Oh my god. It's
So
just they're throwing
amazing. It
remember
broke new
berries.
ground. It broke new
Yeah.
ground.
It's doing the same thing Discovery's doing. That's why I don't like it. They just throw remember berries there instead of developing anything new. The only new
So,
thing I'd say they're doing is that they're evolving a lot more sex scenes into Star Trek, which is just stupid.
yeah, and it's just like, it's just, there's a reason why I just refused to get Paramount Plus, and now they're pulling similar crap with another project they're working on. Remember Halo? Remember that video game called Halo on the Microsoft Xbox? Remember that
Yeah.
game? It starred a guy named I think he was a master and he was also a chef. No, he was a chief. He was a master and he was a chief, and he shot a bunch of aliens. And that's basically Halo. He goes around killing Covenant and Flood and saving the world and stuff. Well, they're doing something totally different with Halo. Master Chief is not even the main character. Can you believe that?
Is this for their new show that's coming out?
Yep, Paramount Plus.
Yeah,
So
I'm
it's
not
just
gonna watch it.
It's just like
I know my friends who are diehard Halo fans. I don't know anything about Halo. They know a lot more than me, and they all agree. And this is one thing I bring up. I'm sure whenever I hear them say Halo 5 is the worst one, I can probably think that everyone else agrees with that because it's literally like 5 of them who say this. Like Halo 5 sucks, so that must be true. But this TV show that's coming out, I was expecting them to be really excited for it, but they were really just they said this is gonna be bad, and little did I know when I actually looked at where it's gonna be published, it's gonna be put on Paramount Plus, and oh there you go, there's the hint of who the creators are gonna be. So no surprise, this show isn't gonna be all that great. I don't want to be mean. I think everyone has should have a shot at being creative and doing what they like.
I agree.
Kurtzman is just not my type of kind of for science fiction and um, just for overall action and entertainment. I just don't like his style. That I would rather watch J.J. Abrams, and that says a lot because I don't really like J.J. Abrams either. But I would rather watch his style because he at least transitions the scenes a lot smoother, and some of the stuff makes a lot more sense than Kurtzman's. So.
Yeah, yeah, not like
Yeah, that's just all I have to say about that. I think everyone should have a shot at getting out there and becoming creative. But I think Kurtzman needs to step down from Star Trek. That's all I have to say. I'm not trying to get anybody fired, but that's just my honest opinion.
it's a shame Brian Fuller did not continue with Star Trek Discovery. Because originally Star Trek Discovery was supposed to be an anthological series. It wasn't supposed to be like, a season by season show. So them making season by season was like a last minute decision. So
I also think they're wasting their money with Lower Decks. While that money could be turned into other good use,
like
maybe
they're
another
trying to make
show.
it. They're trying to make it a comedy now. They're trying to make it
Yeah,
comedic.
there's just no need for that. I think Star Trek isn't supposed to be a comedy.
Is it trying to be like the Orville?
They're competing
or
with
something?
the Orville. Because the Orville is just 10 times funnier than Lower Decks will ever be, and
I got a
they
question.
want to make a funny show too.
I got a question for you. Now this is very high speculation, but do you think, like Star Trek, do you think the Orville will have like spin-off shows and movies and stuff? Do you think that could be a
It's
possibility?
possible, but if I had to guess, probably not. I think the Orville is going to be one self-contained show, because the whole point of it is to spite CBS, because they didn't hire Seth MacFarlane to become the creator of Star Trek.
Yeah, that was like I have the Orville guidebook for season 1 and stuff, and it basically says in 2015 he approached CBS saying he was interested in doing another Star Trek show, and of course they turned him down. And he was like, I don't like all this. Seth MacFarlane, it's like, I don't like all this dystopian science fiction that we've been getting for 20 years now. So ever since like the year 2000 and stuff. And he just wanted something that was like hopeful and bright
And makes sense too.
and makes sense, and just something that was more hopeful.
Because something
was
you'll notice a lot with Orville, even though a lot of like the scenes are crazy and don't make sense. I know I said make sense, but there are a lot of scenes in the Orville that don't make sense. But the humor and the acting of the characters, they're all so down to earth. Like you actually believe the environment they're in, the setting that they're in, and what roles that they're filling. Like they're great actors. Voyager, same thing. Deep Space Nine, same thing. But with current Star Trek right now, I don't care for any of the actors, even the ones that they're bringing back to us. Riker, Picard, and Deanna Troi in that one Picard episode, I thought that was pretty good. But I still
because it felt like we were getting some Star Trek. We weren't getting promised crumbs to keep watching a show. Like it was nice to hear
I
Riker
like
say
the
shields
talk
up.
that Picard and Riker were having between each other.
I
But
wasn't
honestly,
a big
dude, I can't stop but think what the show would be like in the proper hands of its true creators, the people who have made Star Trek for many years already, ones who have already worked on Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. Just hire those people that fans are already accustomed to, and people who already buy the merchandise for years now. And if you're trying to attract new fans, then that's fine. You can still do that with fulfilling with the style with Rick Berman had in mind.
Have you seen the What You Left Behind documentary?
Documentary,
that they
yes.
made? All right, so kind of know where they're kind of know where the writers, even those writers, Ira Stephen Burr, are kind of at politically and stuff. So I don't know if they go to the same level that Kurtzman would go when it comes to lack of
They would
lack
do
of
the
quality.
same thing they've been doing. It would obviously take time to figure out a story and a whole arc in mind, because what they figured out for Deep Space Nine, all those 7 seasons, was all planned. Obviously some episodes they had to think on the spot because there had to be a lot of fillers. But the whole Dominion.
Yeah, remember that segment in the documentary where they were talking about a hypothetical season 8, and we were in the writers' room with them. There was Robert Hewitt Wolf, there was Ronald D. Moore, there was Ira Stephen Burr. I forget who else was in the writers' room, but it was they were all there talking about a season 8, and so we got an episode. They basically broke down episode 1 of a potential season 8, where it ends with Captain Nog. He's Captain of Defiant getting killed. Like it kills Nog off.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I don't think that they should continue Deep Space Nine. It's good where it is right now, but those same creators, they know the true definition of how to direct a Star Trek show. They know the feel, the screenplay, because when you watch TNG, when you watch Deep Space Nine and Voyager, it's very identical. Like all those 3 shows feel like they are in the same universe because they're not directed too differently.
They
the
follow
writing, the uniforms.
They follow they try to follow the Star Trek Bible to a degree and stuff. Like it's the big rule about the Star Trek was it's
understandable if they want to hire new CGI creators, new people for the visuals. Okay. But you cannot get rid of the core creators who are making Star Trek what is truly the reason Deep Space Nine prospered. You can't get rid of those people. Rick Berman, all of the writers, especially Jerry Goldsmith, the music composers, those are what made Star Trek what it is today. I mean, when you look at it now, all I see is Star Trek currently is just a bunch of Netflix shows. They all look the same now. Everything is a spin-off. Everything is something taking inspiration from another show, Stranger Things. Everything looks like Stranger Things now. I don't know why. Or Game of Thrones. They're all just copying.
It's being generic. It's not basically following.
It's not becoming creative formula anymore. That's the whole thing. If Star Trek was still in the hands of its true original creators, obviously Gene Roddenberry is dead, but he.
But Rick Berman worked directly with Gene Roddenberry during the early days of Next Generation.
I also remember somebody reminding me that Gene also wasn't fully responsible for all of the things that happened in the original series. We have to thank the actual writers for that.
Yes.
just get those same people, or get people who are inspired by those people, who are Rick Berman fanatics. Just get somebody who understands, and get a team together that has really good chemistry. Because I can tell you right now, this Star Trek team that we have for Picard and Discovery, they have chemistry all right, but they're all going for one agenda, and that's just to be super woke and virtual signaling anything they can.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to read what Snorri Pupus has
Go for
said
it,
right
yeah.
here. He's like, I liked what we left behind for the most part, except for the continuation story and some of the idiotic PC things Bluebeard or Ira Stephen Bear was saying. It wasn't just like Ira Stephen Bear, it was also like Nana Visitor, who plays Kira, was kind of like, they were kind of doing that same thing, and they made Mark Alimo, who plays Ducat, look like a toxic man or something. I didn't really appreciate that. I mean, he was to me. Mark Alimo helped really make Deep Space Nine as well. His portrayal of Ducat is one of the best. He's one of the best
Yeah.
villains out there. He's up there with Khan, and is one of the best
He is up there with Khan for me
antagonists.
as well. Yeah.
One of the best antagonists of Deep Space Nine, and he was.
I think
He,
what's
he
his
was
name?
he was consistent. He was consistent in his acting, his demeanor, and you always wondered what Ducat had up his sleeve. Like it was, he was. I mean, like when it comes to movies, like Mark Alimo was like he usually played like henchmen to villains and stuff. Like he was a henchman in Total Recall. He was a henchman in a bunch of other '80s movies and stuff. But in this role, this was a role he freaking owned, and he hit it out of the park, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
So
mean, for me, Chang, uh, Khan, the Gold Dukat, they're all up there for me for main antagonists of the show. But I have to admit, even as cool as Chang was, Dukat is just a lot scarier to me. He takes the cake next
he plays the long
to
game. He
Khan.
plays the long game.
Yeah.
Uh, and he was a great like antithesis to Cisco. I mean, he was basically he had the office that Cisco basically took over. So there was Terok Nor. He was the commander of Terok Nor, and because the Cardassians had to flee because Bajorans got their independence, Federation comes in and helps Bajorans become their own entity or something, or to work towards becoming a member of the Federation. So that the Federation had a presence there at Bajor and stuff. And of course, Dukat never really let that one down.
So Dukor says, does anyone know what we should expect from Strange New Worlds? Confusion.
What did you what did you think of the reveal of Kirk, played by Paul Wesley from the Vampire
I like
Diaries?
Paul Wesley. I don't think he's Kirk. It doesn't make sense. That's
Have
just all
you,
I'm
what
gonna
have you
say.
seen? I mean, they say he's in the Vampire Diaries. I've never watched that. What else has he been in? Do you know?
That's all I know, honestly. Vampire Diaries.
And you liked Paul Wesley in
He's a good
Vampire
actor.
Diaries?
Yeah, he's not bad.
Okay,
He's
but you
actually
don't
a
see
good
it.
actor. It's
But you
just
don't.
the thing is, the reason I don't like this news is because one, he doesn't really look like Kirk. I'm gonna be honest. He just looks like an off-brand Chris Pine stunt double. But other than that, he
He's about the
is
same age as
supposed to
Chris
be.
Pine
He's
too.
supposed to be playing Kirk in the timeline we all know, the one that the original series took place in.
And it's funny
So how
because
is it
he's
not William
actually
Shatner?
older. Yeah, it's
I don't
funny
under-
because he's actually older than I think he's older than me. He's like 40 years old.
They just confused everyone and they don't care. They're just trying to do whatever they want to do. I don't care. Kurtzman can literally put a cake and that's the starship, but just put it in a separate timeline. Because right now I'm just so confused. That's why I'm not paying any attention to these new shows coming out. I'm not even watching current Star Trek. I just put it at one ear out the other. But it's just so confusing that they pretty much just replaced Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner, and they said nothing about it. They don't care that they just replaced those two legendary actors.
I mean, like I know, like some roles have been multiple, like some legendary roles, like especially like characters like Hamlet and go back to Shakespeare have been played by multiple actors throughout the thing. But I mean, it's really to me, it's kind of too soon to be playing iconic characters like Kirk and Spock. To me,
No,
I mean,
people are saying that Kirk he's just gonna appear and people are worried, like people who are actually gonna watch the show are worried that, oh, he's gonna steal Pike's spotlight. It's all gonna be about Kirk, and people are like, oh no, they're just gonna get rid of him and make him unimportant. That's I think that's their goal. They're really trying to downplay Kirk. They're gonna make him seem very unimportant and not as cool as everyone thought he would be. That's my main concern. Cause they're seriously gonna downplay him with their level of writing and directing. We're gonna get a very bad Kirk from them. I wouldn't say hold your breath for Strange New Worlds because it's just gonna be another Discovery show. And somebody at top of CBS, somebody over there is greenlighting all of these because there's no way that this show is getting a season 2 already. But it is. So somebody is greenlighting all of these for them, no problem. They've got a friend up there. Despite all of the shitty ratings the show is getting. I mean, look how horrible that Spock looks. Ethan Peck is a great actor, and look what they did to him.
I don't like the way the outfits. I don't like the way the uniforms look.
It looks like a business suit, but I don't know. It looks horrible.
Yeah, I agree. And did you see my tweet that I did? So apparently this poster looks very similar to the Orville's New Horizons poster. Have you seen that?
Can you show me it again, the New Horizons?
Yes. Orville New Horizons poster. It looks just like the Strange New Worlds one.
That's hilarious. It is.
Yeah,
almost
somebody.
just like it.
Yeah, and of course this is the old one because it says March. I'm serious. Like I was so disappointed.
This came out before their announcement, so they literally.
Yes.
I don't know if they copied the Orville, but that's very suspicious.
Yeah, of course.
Because you can tell this is the older one because that's the old date, 3/10/22.
Yes.
So this came out before they announced the season 5 drop for Discovery.
Yeah, someone pointed that out. It was just hilarious and stuff. So.
Oh, sorry, Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, so someone pointed out Strange New Worlds and the Orville poster looking almost exactly alike and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, this isn't bad. Of course, I think this is supposed to be Pike, and that's supposed to be Tango, his horse.
Yeah,
if you remember.
they are scarily similar, dude. They are very similar.
Yeah. So I don't know if we're gonna this is supposed to be a sequel to Discovery, so I don't know if they're gonna. It makes me wonder if they're gonna basically lead into Pike becoming injured.
Look at the size of the Enterprise. That's so stupid, dude. Like, it's not supposed to be that big. It's just not. That's the size of the Galaxy class, almost.
Isn't it that big, though? Like, at least...
No.
No, it's not?
Okay. The original series Constitution is way smaller than that.
Okay, alright, I didn't...
That's just I don't know why they're doing
They're trying to make it scale.
They're just doing, like Michael
grandiose.
Dorn said, they're putting their own,
Michael Dorn
cover
said that?
on all of this.
So, alright, so, on a side note, I want to say hello to Brian's Gate. He was on my chat yesterday talking about, we were talking about Lord of the Rings and stuff. So, just to let you know, my name is Brian too, so I should call him the other Brian's Gate and stuff. So, he says Garrick is scarier, at least with Gul Dukat, you know he is your enemy. That is true. That's
Garrick
what makes Garrick
scarier,
so...
especially Gul Garrick.
I didn't think... I think regular Garrick, our Garrick, is scarier than Mirror Garrick, which I think is what you're talking about, right? Gul Garrick?
I think Mirror Garrick is scarier. Just when he's
we
not
know he's
chained.
a bad guy. Here's the thing, though. We know he's a bad guy. We know he's bad.
Right.
Our Garrick, we don't
yeah.
know. Like, he could be good one minute. He could be doing something totally in his interests.
He's
the other
manipulative.
That's what made the episode In the Pale Moonlight so
but
awesome.
The thing
is,
is,
you didn't know
the
what
Garrick
he
in our universe, he at least when he was torturing Odo, he still felt some need of compassion. Mirror Garrick would not have felt that way. He would have just kept torturing Odo until he died. That guy is just brutal.
That's true. But that's what makes our Garrick so...
our Garrick is better because he's more compassionate.
More compelling, you know. So when he does bad stuff, you like, oh, wow. You just always wonder what's going on with him and stuff. So
it sometimes fits, like, it doesn't fit for his character when he does something bad, but it's good.
So yeah, it
Yeah,
was
he had
and like
compassion and still tortured him. Well,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
he did.
Obsidian Order, man.
Yeah, he's well, he was either Odo or rejoining. The thing that he wanted the most in the Dias cast was to basically rejoin his father in Tain, to to be a to, he wants the thing he wants the most is to not be in exile anymore. He wants to go back to Cardassia. He wants to rejoin his father. He wants acceptance from his father from Tain, and he basically got that until the Dominion basically wiped out the Obsidian Order and the Tal Shiar, basically. So that was more important than even Odo's well being, wouldn't you say? And
Yeah, I agree.
that's why I think he did. And that's just the idea. Just Garrick was just. I mean, you might disagree with me. But I think Garrick was the best character. Like every episode he was in, he shined. Like every episode he was in was good.
Yeah, I just
With
thought something else that they're gonna screw up in Strange New Worlds is the menagerie.
Well, they already kind of showed the menagerie in season 2, where they showed Pike, Pike.
No, I know, but I
with the
mean they're
time
gonna
crystals.
screw up the build up to that because how we're gonna find out why Captain Pike gets in that wheelchair.
Well, I mean, in the original series, he gets in a wheelchair because he went onto a ship that was destroying itself, and he rescued as many cadets as he could, if I remember correctly.
They're gonna retcon it. They're gonna retcon so many things. I'm already calling it right now.
So
And,
where they is it because he made a dumb decision that he gets?
they're gonna do something where that doesn't happen. I'm guessing because we already know what happens at the end of Pike's life. He goes back with those aliens, right? And
Yeah.
basically lives the rest of his remaining life with them. Are they gonna do that with Strange New Worlds? Only time will tell. Because
I don't know.
Pike's lifetime is pretty short. Even though he looks really old in that one scene where Kirk is in command, that's a year or two after Kirk takes command. So realistically, this show only has 4 seasons. That's it.
Oh, okay. So Snortopoopa says this. He says original Enterprise was 288 meters long. Enterprise D was 642.5 meters. The fake Enterprise in Jar Jar World is 725 meters. Their scales are totally screwed up. Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yep, really messed up. This isn't the JJ one though. This is the Kurtzman one, which is also just as big as the JJ Enterprise. I don't know what's with these two creators and making the Enterprise way bigger than what it is, but whatever. I think the original Enterprise, the 288 meter long one, is just as beautiful.
I can tell you exactly what it is, Spock. They want it to look cool. It's not about substance. It's about if it's cool.
Doesn't look
it's all
cool
about
to me,
style.
though.
It's all about style.
The nacelles in the JJ universe are my biggest gripe. I hate those.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is Strange New World. So I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it episode by episode, or if I'm just going to wait until the whole season's over with and watch it and review it. I'll lose time, but I don't know.
So just going back to Voyager, you said the Omega Directive was your number one.
No, it was Scorpion.
Scorpion was your number one.
So yeah, so Scorpion was my number one. It basically really brought Voyager a high level of stakes and stuff. So, there's dread throughout part 1 of them going into Borg space. We see Chakotay here. He basically finds this Northwest Passage that is devoid of Borg activity. So the green here is the Borg, is where the Borg are active.
I love the Elcars. That's one thing I've always loved at Voyager. They showed more of the Elcars system.
More than even TNG. Okay,
I think a lot more than TNG. Yeah.
I forget what LCAR stands for. I remember Crit was telling me, and I forgot what it stands for. It's like something computer access something. I don't know. So we have, they call this the Northwest Passage, and we find out.
Were you saying you wanted to know what LCARs meant?
Yeah, it was like
it's Library Computer Access Retrieval System.
Okay, Library Computer Access Retrieval System. Okay, so basically any place where they can access the computer and stuff is basically what it is. So any console on the wall or on the bridge or something. Okay, that makes sense. So here we have this Northwest Passage that they wanna basically follow the course of. Well, there's a problem with that. There's a reason why the Borg are not in this area. It's because it's full of species A472 ships, and all the fissures are opening, or all the openings to fluidic space are opening here, so they can't even go here. So they're at a bit of a conundrum. They're like, should we just give up and find a plan and stay there? But when they said that, or when Chakotay brought that up, I'm like, well, if you're close to Borg space, they might come and scoop you up anyways, because that's what they do. They scoop you up like ice cream. So they end up, when Janeway's hanging out with Da Vinci, she basically comes up with an idea. Well, maybe I should make a deal with the devil, and of course, the devil is the Borg, because who else is gonna? I mean, they're it's the devil's no longer going to be the Doomsday Machine, as Captain Decker said in the original series. But with the Borg, I mean, they're the closest thing to the ultimate big bad. They are the big bad when it comes to all the different races in the Trek universe. So they decide to make a deal with them because they feel that they are the enemy of your enemy is your friend. So they felt the species 8472, basically due to Kess's visions that she's having, or telepathic communication that she's having with the Undine or whatever. They want to wipe out the universe. They want to wipe out the galaxy for the Borg intruding on their space in the first place. So the Borg started the conflict, and the Doctor figures out a way to use Borg nanoprobes to basically get past the immune system that the species A472 has. And they are the apex when it comes to immunity, hence why the Borg can't assimilate them. So the Doctor basically takes these nanoprobes and basically modifies them to the point where they emit the same electrochemical signature that the bioships are the organic material is emitting. So it lets it in, and then of course then the nanoprobes do their damage and stuff. So that's how they defeat 8472, and they should have been an enemy. Like, I think 8472 should have came back, had a defense against this, and then they would have been a threat again, and then the Borg would have been a secondary threat for the rest of the show. That's what I feel should have happened. But this was what got me into Voyager, and I kept watching Voyager until the very end because of this two-parter.
Good choice. I can understand. Great episode.
Yeah, it just ended. It was just such an awesome episode, and of course, I have to shout out introduction of Seven of Nine. They bring Seven of Nine in as a liaison because the Borg wanted to assimilate or install devices into Tuvok and Janeway to communicate with the collective, and they're like, no, if you do that, the deal's going to be off. So they said, do what you did with Picard, with Locutus, have a liaison come in and talk to us. And so that's where we meet Seven of Nine. And of course, the Borg ship that they're on gets destroyed. So Seven of Nine and a bunch of drones are in the storage decks or something. I forget what they call that room.
Cargo bay.
Cargo bays. They're in the cargo bays. The cargo bays are already have Borg alcoves and stuff, and Janeway is kind of taken out of commission. So Janeway was the one that was really pressing.
I just thought of a funny callback because that reminded me of the episode you were talking about earlier with
Which
Shattered.
One? Oh, Shattered, yeah.
And when he brought Janeway to that point of time where there was a bunch of alcoves in the cargo bay, she was just so confused.
Yes, it was, and it was Seven of Nine that actually saved the day. Seven of Nine neutralizes, doesn't kill, but neutralizes Seska. It was hilarious.
Yep.
So
that was awesome.
But yeah, so Seven of Nine's still acting within the Borg's interest and stuff, so she's still kind of a villain in the beginning. And with Janeway out of the loop, Seven of Nine's like, hey, we need this weapon now. We're going to go back into Borg territory. And Chakotay finds it's unacceptable. So he basically says, hey, we're going to depressurize the cargo bay if you make any bad or wrong moves and stuff. And of course, Seven of Nine does, and he basically ejects all the Borg out of there except for Seven of Nine. So, and there's a little bit of tension between Janeway and Chakotay about this because Janeway totally disagreed on his direction, and I really appreciated that they brought that tension there And we also see that in Equinox too.
Yeah.
So it was. I always liked seeing that because it's. I mean, of course, it drums up the drama and stuff, but it just makes it more compelling. You're like, whose side should I be on? But in this case, I think Chakotay was in the right when he got rid of the Borg and stuff. But at the same time, I think at the same time, I think I think Janeway should have went in, gave the A472 a bloody nose, and then escape. And of course, that is what caused all the hostilities to cease. So, must save the hot Borg. That's right. That's right.
Yes, must save 7 of Fine.
7 of Fine, indeed. So, yeah, and then of course seeing 7 of 9 again just makes me feel sad because her character arc got completely destroyed by Picard. Ugh. Jerry Ryan playing Jerry Ryan, killing everything and everyone. Well, not everyone, but almost everyone. So, yeah. So it was, but yeah, Scorpion's my top Voyager episode. I doubt anything will ever change that. So, any final thoughts? I have to make dinner and stuff.
No, that's it for me. I was just gonna say that if you had to make a Star Trek show, what would your setting be and who would you use?
Honestly, it would be in the future. It would be in the 25th century. It would be a brand new crew. It would be a crew exploring the Beta Quadrant, and there would be, at this point, it would follow up on all these shows. There would be probably a Borg crew member. There would be a Romulan crew member. There would be another Klingon, perhaps. All the races. So there would be one human character, and it'd be all the races. All the other races would make up the other characters, and they would be on They would be on the Enterprise F or F or G or whatever it would be at this point, and that's what I think should have happened. And the ship would have been the main character. You would have an awesome score from a composer. I think. Any like a music composer that would make a very memorable theme, in the vein of Next Generation, Voyager, even Deep Space Nine stuff.
They could get
No Enterprise. I hate that opening to Enterprise. It's been a long road.
I love it. I
hate that. I have to. It cringes me every time. I have to skip it.
I will admit it was cringing me first time I saw it, but then I kind of got attached to it.
I like the ending theme though. Da, 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 da. I like that theme though. I think that's Dennis McCarthy. I think that was still Dennis McCarthy. So, but yeah, that I want. If there's a Star Trek show, it still has very similar type of dialogue. Everybody acts like professional adults. They're working in space. They and they all have their own character arcs. We'll have a hologram character too. We have the Doctor. Maybe have a holographic chief of security. What could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
And I'm not, and maybe another android character. I don't know. I feel I'm very conflicted about all the androids that they made for Picard and stuff. I just because they're trying to copy data and stuff, and I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
I would want,
to be honest.
if I had to make a show, I would want mine to be very right to the point, punching into what it means to be Star Trek. And if you bring up Sudukar's 7th Legion's comment from earlier, where he said 8472 deserve more than a passing mention, this is what I would center it around. Basically, we know what happens with Jake Sisko in Deep Space Nine in his future. He becomes a writer.
Right.
But one thing we don't know for certain is the whole outcome of his future. Because without his dad, we saw what his life became. He just became a writer, and eventually he wanted to do everything he could to save his dad. But in the end of that, his dad, Sisko, stayed alive, but then eventually became a prophet. What did Jake do after that? After he knew his dad was still out there in space? Probably would have become a captain. He probably would have been wanting to become a lot closer to his dad than staying on Earth and writing books. So what does he do? He becomes a part of Starfleet, works his way through the ranks, and Jake Sisko becomes either a commander or a captain of a ship. And that's the setting. We have a crew, Captain Sisko, and then we have a bunch of other characters that they would introduce, good actors, not beer commercial actors. I'm talking about really good, genuine actors that will make you cry once in a while. But other than that, the enemy, the main overall arching enemy of season 1, no, I don't buy that for Jake. I do. I think he could do that. Would be the Undine. Because
the return of species 8,
in this
4,
time
7,
during the close 25th century, since this is the late 24th, in Star Trek Online, they made their a gateway to the Delta Quadrant. So there's now a Romulan gateway. I think actually not. It's in Romulan hands, but it's from another species that we see in TNG. The forget what their name is. It's not the Heralds. It's remember that episode in TNG where they were able to walk across these bridges and it would show all these different systems, like different like Kronos, Earth, and everything, and they would be like watching every single system.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. It's that same species, and they created this gateway to the Delta Quadrant. So the Undine used that gateway to get into the Alpha Quadrant and then start an invasion.
You're talking about Iconian. You're talking about the same Iconian gateway.
There you go.
From was it Contagion? No, was it Contagion? The episode of TNG.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was Contagion.
Yeah. So it was the. Sorry, it would be them, and they would use the gateway to get into the Alpha Quadrant, a very similar situation that we got in the very season finale of Deep Space Nine, the war between the Dominion and the Starfleet. But I think that would be a pretty good setup, because to me that's very Star Trek. You would have a bunch of different ships. The finale of season 1 would be the fight between the Undine and Starfleet. But it would still happen to be an episodic series, which every single episode develops something new. Each character has their own episode, a new story is happening, something aboard the ship is happening, a weird alien passes by the ship. You know, your casual Star Trek show. But it's very similar in terms of Enterprise, where there is that overlaying arc of the whole invasion with the Undine they have to deal with.
Okay. So then, of course, would there also be season like season, not season long arcs that go from season to season, kind of like what TNG did, you know, with, you know, like your sins of the father.
I wouldn't carry one villain for more than 1 or 2 seasons. That's what I would do, because then it starts to drag on. I eventually want there to be a good build up to the villain and to where they actually fight, and it's questionable whether they defeat or don't defeat that enemy. And if the enemies say the Undine don't get defeated, then that's what season 2 is for. They come back around again.
Okay. So
but it would basically be centered around the Undine, and if they defeat the Undine, I wouldn't know what to do after that. I just really want to see the Undine again after so many years, because they're so misused, 8472. So they could definitely make a comeback.
I agree. So what would Captain Sisko be commanding? What kind of ship?
I would put him on an Akira class vessel. Nothing crazy, but something that definitely can do the job. If not an Akira class, I would put him on something similar to the Prometheus.
Okay, so something kind of like this right here.
Yeah.
What was it? You said the USS Prometheus? Starship Prometheus. I'm trying to remember, what episode was that in?
That was also a Voyager episode when the Doctor was beamed over to the ship.
Oh, the message in the bottom one? That was the
Yes.
Prometheus? Oh, okay. Okay, the one where Andy Dick is the
So these
EMH.
are one of these 2 ships are the ones I would have Cyril Lofton commanding.
It's actually a nice looking ship. It's a nice little...
It's definitely like, I'm trying to fit in the realm of Star Trek, because what we're seeing now in terms of ship designs are just a bunch of paper maches. They all look like origamis, the new Star Trek ships. I hate the look of them. Like, this looks like inspired from the Intrepid, but more of like, it's got an arrowhead and it's 4 nacelles. So it just looks like a lot meaner than the Intrepid.
So, question: what kind of crew? What kind of crew would you think of having? And, oh, by the way, what would your setting be? Oh, you said later, so this would still mean the late
Late.
twenty
This would
fourth
be like
century.
late 24th, almost hitting 25th century.
So
Something that's
roughly
been
around
pretty
this.
much unexplored.
So roughly like what New Trek is doing with Picard and stuff around that same time.
Yeah, if I had my way with it, would replace it all with this. But I this is what I would have done after the Enterprise show ended. There would have been those 3 movies with J.J. Abrams, which I'm fine with existing because they're in a separate timeline. After those 3 movies, I would have started on this show, because it hits home at what Star Trek is, and it's already a captain so many people are familiar with because they grew up with him in the 90s. You know, Jake Sisko. Everyone knows Jake Sisko.
Yeah. And what's funny is I was surprised. A lot of people, even though Jake Sisko was not in a whole lot of episodes of DS9.
And I like what Brian said earlier, though, because it's not believable for Jake to do that. That's the best part about it. It's not believable that he would do that. So I wouldn't know what the writing would be exactly, but there's going to be some main motivator into convincing Jake into actually taking command. And he's going to be doing it all for the first time because he's going through Starfleet, and it's going to take a couple of years before he's fully able to take command. But something motivates him to go to Starfleet Academy. That's going to be the main thing.
So Snortopoopa says there's a class of ship from one of the Bridge Commander games, Achilles class. That's pretty neat, but totally I think he meant to say non-canon. Con canon. Okay.
Check it out. I haven't seen this one.
So let's see. Achilles class.
We gotta get you on Star Trek Online. I'll get you a bunch of ships. Ooh. That actually looks kind of sick.
Yeah, look at that. Look at the little curvy design right here.
I really
looks
like
this.
This.
Looks like a
I'm getting
sea.
some
Looks
Star
like a
Wars vibes from it too. Not gonna
looks
lie.
like a sea creature almost.
It looks like an aquatic vessel.
Yeah, it does. What do you think? Speaking of, since this is a Voyager stream, what do you think of that episode with where they can find the ocean planet and Tom gets demoted to?
That's the first
ensign?
time we ever really see submerged, starships in anything. So we just got to see the shuttlecraft literally traverse under an ocean of water. Like, that was really cool. But even with their advanced technology in the 24th century, we still got that. I think B'Elanna was saying that they're getting pressure because of all the water, so even their ships can get crushed by water. It's crazy.
Yeah, that just tells you, there's still a lot of room for improvement, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and where you said so the main goal of what would the crew be like of Jake's crew, what kind of crew would
so
Jake
it
have?
wouldn't be like a family ship like you see with because it's a very small ship, kind of like the Intrepid, so it only fit like maybe 150 people, 200 possibly. It would mainly just be crew, tactical officers. This is a tactical ship, not a science ship. So it would have more tactical and engineering officers. It would still have science officers, but just not as many as there are tactical, because think about the Akira class vessel as a ship with 4 turrets. It's just a destructive force. It's almost as destructive as the Defiant, but just a bit bigger.
Okay.
That's definitely that's why I wanted to put Jake on that, because in dedication to the Defiant, which is the ship that, Sisko brought for the Dominion War, he got out of commission for.
And you said Jake's main mission is to find his father or something?
Not to find his father. He doesn't really have a main mission per se. It's just his main motivator to be out there is so he can be closer with his father, because his father is still a prophet. He could Avery Brooks could very well still be alive and kicking, and just he's just not in our plane of existence anymore. So
yeah,
he hangs out.
I'll be honest. That episode
He basically wants to fulfill his father's footsteps. Something motivates him. I wouldn't know exactly what the writing is yet, though, for that.
Yeah, dude. After I saw The Visitor for the first time, I felt emotional. But then after my own father passed away, I felt even more emotional watching that episode. it just like seeing his father disappear in front of him just made me cry. I literally cried when I saw
That's
that.
such a good episode.
Remember that?
Yeah.
I know.
I
Tony
always
Todd.
cry when I watch
Tony
that
Todd playing Jake Sisko is just Tony Todd's amazing. Period. As any character, like he played Jake Sisko. He's played. If you've seen the Axanar, you ever see the Prelude to Axanar video?
Yes.
He was one of the admirals. He was awesome in that. Of course, he was Kern in Next Generation as Worf's brother and stuff. So, I mean, like, yeah,
Yep.
every role I've seen him in, he's been amazing and stuff. So, another underrated actor. That's one thing I loved was they just hired such great talent. Like, people, you don't think about the guest stars, but the guest stars shine just as much as the cast. I mean, you had John Delancey. John Delancey is as much of a star as Patrick Stewart when it comes to Star Trek fans and stuff. So the same with Brent Spiner. Like all the with the regulars, like the guest stars were just as appreciated. So
Yeah. One thing I would definitely do for my show: no sex scenes. That's just something that's gonna be implied, never just shown.
So Data's fully functional. Worf is fully functional.
Because that was
and stuff.
funny, right? Like they kind of, I mean, that's always gonna be a cringy scene, but they at least they had the decency not to show anything. They just closed the door, and then that was the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and I was talking about this with Wakizashi's Tea House on Twitter earlier. Another great actor who was on the show, who makes everything better, and he was in Lord of the Rings, was Brad Dourif. Remember, he plays Lon Suter, the Betazoid. He was a serial. I don't know if he was a serial killer, but he killed somebody, and he was a Betazoid, and he ends up getting redeemed in Basics Part 2 when he helps. I think drop the
This
shields.
was Voyager.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember this. This was one of the coolest scenes in the show because
So the
he
guy-
he goes off. Like he gets the phaser and gets like kills left and right, but at the same time he's going through it all again. He's taking lives again after everything he's been through. He's just like trying to reconcile with it. What's crazy is that his role in Voyager is very similar to another one he takes on Babylon 5 as a priest because
Yes, I remember that one.
he gets his mind wiped because he's actually a murderer. He always plays a murderer. I don't know why.
Because he played Chucky, and he plays Chucky. He plays bad guys.
That's right.
I mean, he
Yeah.
plays it's funny. He plays a priest, and I have to see this. I have to see The Exorcist 3 because he was supposed to be one of the best actors in that movie. He was one of the real standout actors in The Exorcist 3, where he plays another priest. I think. I don't know. I haven't seen it. So, but yeah. Like
Yeah, he's a
he
great
elevates.
actor.
He elevates even Alien Resurrection. He was in Alien Resurrection. He plays one of the
That's
evil
true. Yeah,
bad guys.
the
He
one who was in
elevated
the
that.
wheelchair.
Yeah, that movie was shit, but he elevated that movie too.
It was so bad, man. Minus a few cool xenomorph moments, it was really bad. I did not like what they did with that movie.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the end of the
We
story
have to talk
was
about
aliens.
that movie one day, or just the entire Alien franchise one day.
I did. I just recently.
I
did,
saw you do the Aliens James Cameron one.
and Alien, the first one too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like the other Alien movies as much. I was okay with Prometheus. I know a lot of people didn't like Prometheus. I know a lot of people didn't like Alien Covenant.
I kind of on the fence with Prometheus. I like the idea that they're showing because it's a prequel and we get to see those engineers. But the
Yeah.
xenomorph they showed in the end of the first movie looked really weird. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're trying to say, that there's a protomorph. Just don't get too confusing. Just say that the xenomorph comes from the engineer. Simple as that.
Exactly. So,
At
but
least
yeah,
Covenant was a bit better involved with the xenomorph, but I still didn't like that movie either.
yeah. Instead of getting Alien 5 from Neil Blomkamp, we get Alien Covenant. And Alien 5 would have been like, the follow up to Aliens. Like Hicks would have came back, Michael Biehn, Sigourney Weaver. They would have been older, but hey, it's Alien. They could probably come up with a reason to age them. The hypersleep chamber probably
Did you hear about
malfunctioned
the
and
new
they
show
aged.
coming out too? About I think it's
And they're
Predator,
making a new
sorry.
movie. They're making a show and a movie. Like
Is it the Alien show where it's like a queen lady of like a native time? Oh no, sorry, that's the Predator show.
The Alien show is going to be about like Weyland Yutani. It's going to be like the evil corporate type of show and stuff.
It
And I
might
don't
be
know if-
good. It depends though, because Wayland Yutani is a very sensitive, um, very sensitive subject on the topic of aliens, because that's literally the main distributor of the ships that Ellen Ripley was on. So, a lot of people are saying that the base of operations where Wayland is the same world as Blade Runner.
Yeah, I heard of that. We mentioned that in the
Which
we
would be
mentioned
cool
that
if they
in
did
the
that.
the
They
stream.
confirm it.
I mean, it's both Ridley. They're both Ridley Scott films, and it does make
Yeah.
sense because they
And there's
do
like
go.
a
They
dialogue given away in 1979 where they're talking about mother or something, or father, like
Mother.
referring to the computer. And
Yeah,
then in
mother.
Blade Runner, they say the same exact thing, so kind of hinting that the technology is the same.
You ever play a Metroid game? Metroid's games have
Very
borrowed a
old
lot
ones,
from.
like PlayStation 2.
You mean Nintendo? It's a Nintendo.
Sorry,
it's a
Nintendo.
PlayStation.
I don't know
2.
why I said PlayStation 2. I was
But
thinking
yeah,
of Jack. My
you
bad.
know what I'm talking about. Metroid's the one where you play as Samus, the bounty hunter. She's got
Yes,
the arm
yes.
cannon. She
Yeah.
shoots space pirates, and the main villain is Mother Brain and stuff. And you destroy Mother Brain, and then all of a sudden, when you destroy Mother Brain, the whole plant's about to explode. So you have to get off the plant, get back to the ship before the whole place blows up. That all that was borrowed from Alien with the whole self-destructs thing and getting off the ship and fighting an evil creature, alien creature that wants to kill you and stuff. So, yeah, it's there's a reason why I love the Alien franchise, because it inspired my current favorite video game franchise, which is the Metroid series.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't play it. I didn't play Metroid as a kid. I got into Metroid when I was in college, when I played the first Metroid Prime game, and I just got so into it that I played all the other games after
I
that.
played
So that's
the early Nintendo one only whenever I was able to go over to my cousin's house, because he just had a giant Nintendo game collection. And the first thing that I attracted to was the Metroid series. I don't know, I had a thing for shooters like that, where it's just side-by-side platformers.
Yeah, we're waiting for Metroid Prime 4. We've been waiting for about 5. It's gonna be 5 years now since they announced it at E3.
Yep.
So yeah,
Snooker asks, are they talking about remaking or relaunching Babylon 5?
they're
I think they
remaking
actually
it.
canceled that.
Yeah, they put it on indefinite. They put it like they shifted it indefinitely, or
Yeah.
postponed it indefinitely. But nowadays, who knows? Like now
Who knows,
everybody's
but I
green
think
lighting
that-
everything now, and it's turning
Yeah.
to shit. So
If I had to say anything, J. Michael's the one who dismissed it, who said, no, we're not going to do this, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't know how to top what's already put out in Babylon 5. I mean, how could you top the story with Sheridan and Delenn? But other than that, I have to speak very dark right now, and frankly, but unfortunately, after J. Michael passes away, as everybody does, they're gonna take the show from him and do whatever the fuck they want with it.
they're gonna new. I'm gonna call it. They're gonna new Trekify it.
Yeah, they're gonna make it a
Turn it
woke
into something-
garbage show.
Turn it to something generic and boring and
And it's just not gonna look
typical
like
for-
Babylon 5 anymore.
something typical for streaming service content now, because that's all it is. It's content. And like it's the same thing with Disney Plus stuff. Like I'm no longer, I don't know about you, you probably still watch the Star Wars shows. I'm totally done with those as well. They're just not, to me, they're not.
I'll say this
Interesting.
much: there is episodes of the new shows I like, which is something I cannot say for Star Trek. Star Trek is taking a way severe beating compared to Star Wars right now. Star Wars, they're at least kind of coming at the fans and giving them what they want with Luke Skywalker, but still the story of Boba
That's-
Fett and all those new shows are not
I
as
watched-
epic to me as the prequels and the original series are.
And I doubt I just doubt they ever will be, and so that's kind of why I feel that way. And them putting Luke Skywalker.
I'll have to say though, it's not suffering as bad as Star Trek. Star Trek.
Oh
there's
no,
one thing-
there are people that really still like it. Like a lot of people that
Yeah.
follow me and that I mean that you follow, like Echo Base.
No, yeah, there's some
They
people
still watch-
who
they're
are
still
friends of
watching
mine
it.
that are super into
Yeah.
it. That's
Like-
something. Unfortunately, I can't say for Kurtzman's Trek
Just
because
based,
it's
just based on who's making Star Wars stuff now. don't see, like, even like with Kenobi, like initially, like a few years ago, I would have been really interested in Kenobi, but after seeing like Mandalorian and stuff, I was just like, is this the best they can do? And then I'm just like, I'm done. It's like Star Wars is supposed to resemble the old serials of the 30s. They're supposed to be high action, high stakes, high thrills and stuff. Like you are worried about the characters the whole time. They're in extremely dangerous situations and stuff. And then the villains are usually over the top, and they're usually pretty threatening. I mean, the reason why the original trilogy worked is you had Darth Vader, and Darth Vader was, nobody ever pulled a wool over Darth Vader, ever.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what made it work. And even the prequels had good villains too. You had Sidious, the Emperor, pulling all the strings, and he was basically manipulating everybody and stuff. So
I'll say right now, it's a very scary time to be a fan of any retro show or anything you grew up with right now, because
yeah, because
everything
they're basically,
is being threatened with a remake. Everything. Babylon
Yeah, so
5, Tron.
so whenever I hear about, oh, we're gonna be doing this, we're gonna be doing that, I am right away, I'm skeptical, and I'm like, oh, what are they gonna do?
As you
It's like,
should
oh,
be,
what are they gonna
because
do?
it's just very rare they get good teams these days.
Yeah, so I know we haven't been talking about Voyager for a long time, but any other final comments? We're gonna end the stream.
No, I mean, we covered everything for Scorpion for me, and we got all the honorable mentions out of the way. If you guys haven't seen Voyager, watch it. It's a
Definitely,
good show.
definitely check it out. So it's really, it's definitely part of the Star Trek.
It's very
family and
comforting to
stuff.
watch while you're like working on, I don't know, an essay or something. It's just think about it as a sitcom in space still. It's a very serious show, but all of it is treated as like they're all one giant family and they care about each other. So that's very comforting to know. And I think
Yes.
the Hollow Doctor is just, he's the one I think that really stands out the most in the show. Even though my favorite character is Tom Paris, the Doctor is the brightest star for me on this show.
Yeah. So just wanted to say, Spock, thank you for joining. This was a great stream.
Of course, man. This was fun.
I had a blast. This Trekporeal was great. I used the end of Caretaker's theme for the music for the opening. I was wondering, what do you think of the opening? I actually liked how it turned out.
Sorry for the Caretaker.
The opening. I started this stream with the opening. What did you think of the?
I really
opening?
liked what you did there. Yeah.
I use the ending theme of when it goes to credits and stuff, or when it says executive producer. You know how the episode ends and they play like the musical theme. Well, that was the one from Caretaker, and I used that to open the. I used that music for the opening because I got copyright. I tried with Mike in the last episode with the Klingons. I actually started with the original series jingle. Dun 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 dun. Dun. I got copyright claim for that. So hopefully this one's not as well known and won't be copyright claim and stuff. So we'll see. So Staticar says Spock channel link please. The link is in the description. The link
it's in the
is
description too.
Yeah, Spock's link is in the description in the video. So anyone that's going to be a guest on my show is going to have their links in the description. And of course, Spock is paying me a fine fee for that because I'm petty. But yeah, that's but yeah. So yes, I'll subscribe.
I was gonna say, I also
Spock's.
like the astrometrics picture you put in the beginning of the stream.
Oh yeah, you can't see it now, but yeah, it's. I thought it was great. It's basically when Voyager really became its own. It really became its own thing in season 4. Season 4 might be its best season. I don't know if you'd agree.
Season 3 and 4, I would say.
Okay, okay, fair enough. So, all right. So, but yeah, Spock is making his own episodic, or is it episodic or show using Star Trek Online?
Yes, the
to tell a story
series.
about the Undine and his characters and stuff, and some familiar faces might be voice acting in it that you might know, like this gentleman right here, for instance.
Random Vulcan.
So
yes.
subscribe. So subscribe to Pacific.
Look forward
414.
to seeing the Admiral, Trekporeal, and Pacific on the series because they're going to be voicing some characters.
I can't wait to see episode. I can't wait to see episode 2, and if there's any way I can help, I'll gladly do it.
Yeah, buddy.
So yeah, but check out his episode. I think you're how many views has that episode 1 of your new series got to? Is it
I
already
have
at like
not
2 or
checked
3,000?
recently. Let me see. Last
I know
time I
you-
checked, it was 2.5k, but now it's at 3.2k.
Sweet. Yeah,
So it's
that's
getting
awesome.
up there.
None of my videos automatically got up that high. All my videos that got up to like in the thousands was because I bought like ads. So the fact that yours did it by itself is amazing, and he's a great.
Thank you, brother.
Spock is a great channel. Spock's a great channel. He's very technical. He knows his stuff, and he streams Star Trek Online. So if you're into Star Trek Online, join him, and together you will rule the galaxy.
Indeed. I hope to see all you there.
So I just want to say thank you to everyone that was here in the chat. Sadikar, live from Scotland. If you need a Scottish accent, give me a shout. Yep.
Awesome, of course.
And, of course, some guy named Mike. Nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, who's this guy?
Brian's Gate. Thanks for coming back.
Cheers,
Thanks
Brian.
For coming by
It's good
again.
talking with you, buddy.
And the guy who is not a DJ Ronnie G. Thanks for
DJ.
thank you for coming by. And some rich kaiju who's
Belong 5,000 genders.
yeah. I know Snortopoopus, our friendly friendly bear is
Snortopoopus.
here. Snortopoopus, and I think Leia Rose. Leia Rose was here.
Hey, Leia.
Leia Rose was here. Matt Cave was here. Alan Copeland.
Mr. Cave.
Mr.
Alan Copland.
Is it Copland? I thought it was Copeland.
Copeland.
Anthroparian was here. He had some pretty cool stuff. Star Wars Theology was here supporting earlier. Felix, Mr. Felix. Hello. This is James Bond always says, hello, Felix.
May the force be with you as well, brother.
And also with you. Wait, that's a Catholic response. Excuse me. And, of course, and whoever else came, thank you. So, all right. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything that's coming up for you?
Just casual Friday night streams, 6:30 Pacific time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Always on Friday, so come on by. Playing Star Trek Online. Usually we do something different. I'm thinking about doing a charity stream in the future. So, yeah. May live long and may the force prosper with you.
And for me, the next Trekporeal, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but it's probably going to be next week. The next episode I want to do is going to be with Everest Productions, Mr. Lord Crit himself. We're going to be talking about the best top 5 Picard episodes. And I'm thinking we're going to probably do this again next Sunday. I think maybe a different day. I'll find out when he's available. My goal is to get everybody from Tuesday Night Trek to start with, and then other Star Trek fans, if you're comfortable being on a stream, talking with me, and you want to talk about whatever your favorite types of episodes are, just feel free to DM me, tell me what they are, and if you're interested, I would love to we'll set something up. So we'll set up an episode at some point. So that's what I want to do for Trekporeal in the future. And my next stream after this will be continuing Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, because yesterday we did not even get out of the Shire. We were talking for 3 hours and we didn't even get out of the Shire. So that's hopefully the next part 2 we'll get through the entire movie. So just have another 2 hours to cover. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And of course, I've been because I've been busy with painting the house. I haven't been working on my Orville video, my layman's guide to the Orville. So that's my next video that I plan to upload in the future. So be aware of that, and that's it. So everybody, stay nerdporeal. May the arms and hands of nerdporeals guide you to good entertainment, to good Star Trek. Other than that, take care, everybody.
Live long and prosper.